can you hold on a second? I have call waiting. Knock it off, I know it's you. Sorry about that.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, gentlewomen. Good evening, gentle neutrals, and everybody in between. So it's another time for another interview, and we got a great guest today. I'm not gonna push it too far as drag out the intro and milk the algorithm machine. We're not gonna do that. We're just gonna get straight into it. I got a lot of questions for our guest today. I'm sure a lot of people are gonna be interested in hearing more about him. Maybe we'll get to see another side to this individual, and that individual is of course the one and only Keep It Thoro.
What's going on, man? Salute to everybody out there. Again, to all the comic book collectors, everybody in the comic book world. What is going on? It is your boy Thoro from Keep It Thoro Comics, joining my man Comic Journey. It's been long overdue, right?
Definitely overdue. And I'll tell you something, I definitely appreciate the fact that you could hold a conversation and I don't have to basically carry the whole interview by myself. You could actually talk for yourself, and that's actually something that's refreshing. So I'm happy about that.
Definitely, man.
Believe me, like I told everybody else, we're gonna be interviewing people of influence, and we'll get into the influencing thing down the interview today. But influencers of our community, we're going to be speaking to all these influencers, maybe manipulators. I don't know. We'll talk about that another time too, as well. But we're talking about these influencers, and we're going to make sure that we influence everybody in the right direction. So I'm happy to have Thoro on. People might not know this, but I have a little bit of bias to Thoro. A little bit of personal bias. The only reason I have the personal bias is because he did grow up in Astoria.
And born and raised, man. Born and raised.
We got that common link. I don't like old people from Astoria. Don't get me wrong. But because he is a fellow member and a Astoriite and born and raised, just like myself, I have a special attachment to him. So, I definitely appreciate that. But Thoro, do you want me to just jump into it? Do you want me? I know that everybody knows you. I know everybody knows you from
Nah,
your.
not everybody knows me. Come on, man. Not
Oh,
everybody knows me.
everybody knows
Yeah.
you because here's the thing: either people love you, or people hate you, or people love to hate you, and everything in between. You're that kind of guy. You're
Yeah.
definitely that kind of guy. So I love that. I love polarizing individuals that like find a way to be able to like pull an audience in one direction or another. And you are probably one of the best out there. And I'm not saying that because you're on the channel, because believe me, and I think you know this already. If you were terrible, I would tell you you're terrible. Then you would hate me, and then you could do a whole campaign to smear me, and then it would get into a whole YouTube channel war. But we're not going to do that, you know. So
Nah, I hear you. I hear you.
let's just get into it. You have a channel now. Your channel, I believe, started in 2011.
Yes, just about. Yeah, just around that time. It was something minor in the beginning. I think I did my very first video ever that I put up on was because my Samsung phone ended up cracking, and I was like, I'm big into tech, so I just kind of did a thing. I was actually hanging up Christmas lights, and I had my phone, and the damn phone just cracks when I went to go answer it. So it was just kind of like just one of those random things, and then I just did some video saying like, hey, this is kind of garbage. Samsung wasn't doing anything about what I was trying to do, and then after that, our main video, we go into the comic book world. That's something that I've dabbled in for quite some time. For people that know me, I started collecting toys. Toys was my still is my biggest love. Got a whole rack load of toys everywhere. But comic books is just where it's at. It was one of the things that I've read them since I was in elementary school. I'm well versed on it because of that. Always got to shout out my teacher from St. Joseph's. Shout out to her because she was the one, and may she rest in eternal peace because she ended up passing away from cancer. But she's the one that got me into reading, and I will tell everybody just the same way that I am teaching my daughters, my 4-year-old, trying to get her reading ahead of time. And yeah, it's definitely something that will help you build your vocabulary, that will help you to definitely speak to other folks. It helps you in so many ways that people will never believe. Same way comics did for me. Comic books have so many words that there's folks, some folks wouldn't even have the capacity to be able to even pronounce some of the words that are being used in comic books. So that's one thing that I always credit comic books. It helped me build a hell of a vocabulary and help me, to be able to speak to people, especially on YouTube. So shout out to comic books all day, every day.
Yeah, it's a big thing. I up until about 6, 7 years old, I couldn't really speak English. I spoke mostly Greek because in my household everything was Greek, and through
Yeah.
comic books, I actually started to learn English.
Oh wow.
So
That's
that
nice.
is because like I started connecting the pictures, and in order to understand the picture, it kind of forced me to kind of learn words because I would go to my uncle, to this person, to that. What does this say? What does this say? And it's something that people don't really get as much now today with the kids generation. Like you got a little one, so I'll get into that in a second. As far as how you're trying to get her involved or possibly read. And you only have one child,
I
right?
got two.
Oh, you
Two.
got two.
Yeah. I got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old.
I know the little girl that I see every so often pop up on your screens, right?
Yeah. That's you might see you see both of them. Sometimes you see my 2-year-old, sometimes you see my 4-year-old. They just randomly come out because I'll be doing my stuff late at night because they're in bed, and they just
That's
randomly wake up, and all of a sudden they just make their way over here to my area.
but it's cool to get the kids involved in that stuff. I'm trying to get as much my kids as much involved in that stuff as possible. But before we continue, I just want to give a shout out to the entire chat. I assure you that I'm only partially ignoring your comments until a later time in the stream. I will address any questions or any comments that you have as we progress, but I don't want to take away from the video. We'll put a Q&A session towards the end to you could harass Thoro all you want at that point. But for now, I'm gonna somehow I'm gonna gently ignore you. Okay, so that's the way to go about it. So you know, your channel evolved in a very very different way. In a very very different way. You went from the Samsung, you went to the comics reviews and stuff like that. Started at what, about 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, I think it's about to be 4 years because it's literally my daughter, my 4-year-old, is the one that grew up on the channel. Everybody saw her growing up since she was a baby, since I had her. So yeah, literally about 4 years now, going on five. And she, it's been something. You're correct. In the beginning, like I said, I was never a person to be behind the camera. I hated being behind the camera. I hated taking pictures. That's why my mom barely has pictures of me because I literally did not like to take pictures. I even refused taking like school pictures. So that's how, like, being behind the camera, how against that I was. But when it comes to the channel, yeah, everything started to evolve. I started to kind of mellow out in a sense. Started to realize, like, hey, I can hold a conversation. I could do this. I started giving myself positive affirmations for and you know me by now, Comic Journey. I'm one of those folks that loves to just push out positivity towards everybody because everybody needs it in their life. Everybody goes through a lot of stuff in life. Period. So my biggest thing is just always being motivated, and my self motivation just comes from everything that I've been that I've personally been through in life. So it's been one hell of a journey, no pun intended, since we're with Comic Journey. But yeah, it's been one hell of a journey. 39 years old, just of life, just the ups and downs, and bringing me to the point where I am now.
And it's funny how you're giving the positive vibes because you could see the progress from your videos. Well, at least from the comic material, you started off kind of awkward, kind of like hesitant to like kind of reveal your character on the actual videos, and it was like an evolution, the evolution of Thoro, where you kind of slowly put yourself into the position of who you are, because I could tell I see I do my research. I went back and watched older videos, and I basically looked at them and I said to myself, okay, this guy, he's trying to feel himself around. He's trying to understand what's his thing. You probably knew what your thing was, but you kind of were doing what everybody else was doing at that time, kind of talking about comics, the pickups, and this and that, and you
Yeah,
weren't giving your opinions about stuff. Some point, at some point down the line, something clicked in you, something flipped, and you basically said, I'm gonna say my opinions. I'm gonna talk about what I feel I want to talk about and what I think people want to hear. What brought that? What changed in you as far as getting that to come out? Why did all of a sudden we go from the generic comic book guy that's showing
yeah.
stuff to the Thoro we have today?
So I got tired. So for anybody that doesn't know me, I was a police officer for 11 years. I have no shame in it. I talk to people about it all day long. I did my job, of course, a lot, very differently compared to a lot of officers. Not saying that every officer out there is doing the job bad, but there's people that necessarily don't have to, they shouldn't be doing the job, period. But as for me, I just took one of those routes where, like I said, my integrity, it matters 100 freaking percent. And what pretty much started getting me on the road with that I went through was I was starting to get tired of listening to a lot of these other YouTube channels where they were, just pretty much giving information that was just to hype books up. And I was caught in that FOMO, like I like to say, the fear of missing out. Every single thing that that all the information that was being provided was just to help boost sales of books. It was, I was starting to see the trend. I was starting to pick up. I mean, that's what made me the police officer that I was. I started to, I was a detective doing all these things, investigating. So all that stuff just fell upon me. Like, now I became deaf and numb to a lot of the information that was being put out there. And once I started seeing those trends, I started to get frustrated because I'd hear somebody automatically go ahead and tell me, hey, this book is great to buy right now, with all the enthusiasm in the world. And when people talk to you with a lot of enthusiasm, what do? You fall like a helpless fool, and you're like, oh man, this person knows what they're talking about. Next thing you know, I'm buying up all these books. Then all of a sudden, I start seeing the trend of like, man, I just bought this book for $50, and this book is $5 now, 2 weeks later. So then I'm starting to tell myself, I'm like, why am I following this? Why am I picking all this stuff up? Knowing very well that I have knowledge in comic books, I read comic books. So why the hell wouldn't I provide information to people that's accurate, that's true, and just put it out there to the masses. And again, people can take the information how you want. People can take information for whatever reason it might be. Somebody just said it right. I think it was Cali Comics. Yeah, buy what you like. That's my message to everybody. Get what you like. I was picking up Captain Marvel. I can't stand Captain Marvel. My Captain Marvel is Shazam. That's my Captain Marvel. That's the real Captain Marvel. But as far as like Marvel Comics, yeah, I was picking up stuff like Captain Marvel. I've never read a single book about Captain Marvel ever in my life. And
Hey, the original Marvel, he was kind of kick ass.
Yeah, Marvel, yeah, that Captain Marvel, that was completely different. But Carol Danvers, I'm not a fan. So I just pretty much started to switch things up, and I started to tell myself, why am I falling into this? Why am I falling into this trap? And I just started noticing all the trends. I started doing, my own investigations as far as going, checking out eBay sales, checking out, sales on Mercari, looking at all the things that are selling and just seeing the trends. And then all of a sudden following up with it a week after, following up with it 2 weeks after, a month after, and just watching the steady decline of it. Because everything was just, again, I was in the sneaker game too. And when it came to sneakers, you used to have the guys they call hype beasts. And what were they doing? They were hyping up all these sneakers that were coming out. And sure as hell, it was along those same lines where I pretty much got tired. And then that was where my evolution started. So I appreciate all the folks out there on YouTube who were just pumping and dumping. They were the ones that got me, that ignited my fire. And now all of a sudden I'm here.
Usually there's one incident. Like, all right, it's almost 10 o'clock, so I could use some choice words right now. Usually somebody has to get fucked for something to change in them, as far as change their behavior. Was there a specific incident that you got fucked by and said, fuck this, I'm gonna take things into my own hands in a different way? Was there a certain comic that you like heavily invested in that you got burnt on, or was it something else that just triggered you in a way where you like, I've had it? Or was it just overall?
It was overall. It was with everything. It wasn't just with that. I used to send my books in. You guys know my books to CGC, to CBCS. And then I started seeing all the garbage that was going on with that. And I just started not believing in anything. The whole grading system, all that stuff. I was like, all that stuff I just started to see was being manipulated. And then when ex-workers who worked for CGC and these companies started coming out and saying, yeah, we were given a quota, saying we're only allowed to give these many 9/8s, then you already know that the whole system is rigged. You can't really say nothing else besides like, hey, somebody who actually worked at this company has come out and stated and said, hey, they're doing the following. Not only that, but then it was just all the BS, all the bullshit that was being sold to myself. And I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for everybody. Speaking, on my behalf, where I started just to see a lot of the bullshit that started to happen, and I just started to get tired of it, and I just pretty much wanted to put my foot down and say enough is enough. I'm getting tired of this crap. In the beginning, when I was talking about all this, I was getting a lot of, I was catching a lot of flack for it because everybody was like, dude, you're crazy. What are you talking about? And of course, everything came to the light after that whole C2E2 debacle. And that's what everybody started to see, because I was pretty much exposing everything that was happening, to include the grading side of things.
Now with the grading, I know that you can't stand the grading companies. I think that's public knowledge. And I have no love for CGC or CBCS and all that. So I have zero love for them, actually. However, I know that you're anti-slabbing books, right? Am I wrong about that? Or
No. Yeah, I'm completely against it.
Here's the thing that I have a problem with If I got an expensive book and I want to insure it, the odds of me being able to collect on that insurance money in full are much higher if the book is already graded by a third party thing. So how do you deal with that? I know that you have some expensive books in your collection.
Yeah.
And listen, knock on wood, you never want anything to happen, but in case
No, of
something does
course.
happen, well, what's going to happen? Like if you don't have them graded, the insurance company is going to fuck you. So like, how do you combat that if you don't grade them?
Have it in the bank, in safety deposit box. And not even freaking lying to you guys. That's literally the best way to do it. Go and put everything and anything that you have that you know is worth some ridiculous money. Anything else, you could literally put it. If you have a renter's agreement, get yourself some rental insurance. You let them know, hey, this is the amount, my total of books. I have this a amount of that, and you could just add it up. You don't necessarily have to add up the rest of your stuff. Like for me, for example, if something, God forbid, anything does happen in my books, there's dollar books that I love to death, that are in my collection. So for me, if those were to go up in flames or a hurricane, tornado, whatever the case, it's not going to be anything bad because I know I can go find it again, and I'm not really going to lose out on anything. But yes, anything that you about like some mega books that are costing you thousands of dollars, then yeah, 100%, go get yourself a safety deposit box, go to the bank and put it there. That is the best way to protect your stuff. Especially, I'm not going to leave here anything that's freaking, a book costs $5,000, $10,000 in my house. That's,
and how do you fight? How do you fight? Like I know you sell every so often. You sell
yeah,
comics. Like that person that's saying you have a high grade book or whatever, mid
yeah.
grade. You're sitting there and fighting them on what the condition of the book is. How do you deal with that as far as maximizing the value if it's not graded?
That's why you got to undergrade, man. Undergrade, and again, you got to also remember too at how much you bought these things at. That's one of the biggest things I always try to tell people. People, again, my word of this year has always been greed. I get it, man. Money is great. Money's gonna take care. It's gonna take care of you and your family. Of course, 100%. I'm never gonna say, oh yeah, I don't like money. I like freaking money. But at the same time, you got to just look at it from that perspective, where, you know what you bought these things for at the time, right? So at the point, yes, you understand what the worth and the value is of certain books. Then for me, like I said, anything that I know is up in the $1,000 marks, yeah, those things are in my bank. That's where they're gonna sit. So I really don't have to be worried. And anything that you have at a bank is always gonna be insured under the bank. So they already know. There's stuff that I have raw, that I have ungraded. I don't have graded books except for one graded book, and I've shown that before. And it's the most random ass book, and it's a hard book to find. So I can never find this book. And of course, the only reason I bought this was because I found this in Jersey at a comic book shop, and I love this series right here, Ninjas and Robots, and this cover right here was always one that was freaking missing out of my collection. And of course, the only way I found it was somebody at a comic shop in Jersey had it graded like this. So I had no other choice, and they had it for a great price. I was like, damn, this is one of the missing links in my my collection for Ninjas and Robots. So I just went ahead and bought it, and that was pretty much literally the only book that I have on here. Besides that, when like folks are talking about like, oh, what about the preservation of the book and things like that? Listen, you don't know what having having no oxygen to your book is doing. A lot of these folks, I mean, you look at paintings, you look at all these things that are out there being preserved for years. Those things are absorbing oxygen. That you look at dinosaur bones, you look at so on and so forth. All that stuff is receiving oxygen. So what is possibly happening to your book, over the course of time? Can it possibly disintegrate because there's no oxygen, there's no moisture? You're definitely going to need moisture to keep your pages intact at some point or another, because or else they're just going to wither away. And even with that carbon paper, that whole thing with that carbon paper is a bunch of BS. You could go get yourself some freaking mylites or whatever, mylars if you want to, and that's going to be your best course of protection, to be honest with you. It's one of the things that that I always try to tell folks out there. My biggest thing, even the old school guys that I've known for years growing up, going to comic book shows, they have been so freaking against anything and everything grading. They have been like, man, this thing is going to destroy this hobby. And for anybody that doesn't know, people, the reason that whole grading system and that whole grading company got started was because at the beginning of time, when eBay, you couldn't even see pictures of comic books. So if you wanted to buy a comic book, you had to go get a COA or things of that nature, send it out, and then all of a sudden that's how people were receiving the payments. And then you would wait forever just to get your, whatever it is that you bid on or whatever it is that you bought. So people were getting frustrated with the conditions of these books, and then the inception of CGC happens, where they're like, "Hey, we're going to jump into this, and we're going to prevent this from happening." So now you're in this situation, like I said, where they came out of the woodworks. That were like, "Hey, you know what? We're going to offer you guys graded comic books, so that way you know exactly what you're buying." And of course, over time, technology got better. Now you started to see pictures pop up on eBay. You started to see everything. I mean, now you can go up close and magnify things on eBay so that you can see exactly what it is that you're buying. So now it's a whole complete different game. Now, what happens with a lot of this stuff that's graded? You look at the stuff that's being graded, right? Never in my life and never in history that I ever think I was going to go to a comic show, a Comic Con, and find literally vendors with boxes. I'm talking about boxes of just slabs, where you can literally go through slabs like if you were looking through raw books. That was like a giant freaking killer for me. And that's when I was like, okay, at what point is everything going to become overproduction of just slabbing things? And for me, like I tell everybody, man, listen, if slabbing is your thing, go ahead and do it. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to tell you don't do it. There's other folks that, yes, they believe. I had a mentor who, to this day, he keeps always telling me, he's like, you know what? He's like, I'm glad that you stuck with your books, that you stuck to your guns of keeping everything raw. And that's how I'm going to continue to stick with it. I'm not going to change it from that point on. But yes, there is certain things where I'm just kind of like that. That's one of the things that I'm super against. That's my personal preference. For everybody else out there that feels like, hey, I wanna slap my book up. It's even like I asked my buddy Red Hood. I asked him and I said, give me your honest opinion. What do you think all this pressing and cleaning, is it going to damage books as time progresses? And all he said was like, hey, we're going to find out, right? We're going to end up finding out, because now they've come to the point where it's like, even the cleaning game of comic books has come to the point where it's like, okay, we're going to start using chemicals. Is that chemical going to start affecting the grade of the paper? The rate that it might, that it might just decay. Who knows? Nobody has an answer to any of these things until we start seeing. I mean, even the slab companies tell you, hey, you need to re-slab your book after 10 years. That's their, that's their thing that they always try to let everybody know. Like, after 10 years, that's why they'll hit you with the whole, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to change the grade as soon as you decide to re-slab. So that's, for me personally, I don't have, I don't have the faith. I don't have the confidence in grading companies, because I've sent out books where my book that I sent in wasn't even the book that came back to me. There's books that got damaged. Right? Yeah, there's books that I've received damaged that I'm there like, how the hell is this a 9.0? I mean, you're talking about a modern book. I know Comic Man Andy. I watched him put up a post of a Punisher book he sent in, and he's like, dude, this thing was clean, pressed, everything. It should have been a 9.6. He gets it back a 9.0, and then he sees the damage that was done to his book. And at that point, you start to question too. I've gotten into the fights and arguments of, tit for tat with CGC, CBCS, where it's like, hey, what are you guys going to do? I paid insurance on this book. Hey, we can give you a credit for your next grading. I don't want no damn credit. You freaking jacked up my book. You know what I mean? So it's so many things that have frustrated me with the grading game and everything that's been going on. So it's led me to this point.
That's one of the things that bother me the most about these grading companies, CGC and CBCS in particular. I'm not counting PGX because they just suck all across the board. And EGS is a little bit too new to even comment that much on. But there's no accountability in these companies. They're the only companies that I know that you could send something in. They tell you, okay, you'll get back in 30 days, 60 days, whatever the case. They take a year to send it back to you. And you say, what's going on? You haven't sent me the book. And they basically say, fuck you, wait in line. That's basically what they tell you. And here's the thing that pisses me off. There's no customer service on top of it. They don't even tell you, hey, we're sorry about the situation here. Have $5 as a credit to your next thing. $10, $1. I don't care what it is. You know what I'm saying? They don't even care. And all the morons that keep sending their books into them, one after the other, is just allowing them to be able to continue this low accountability type of way of doing business. So that really irritates me. Now, I agree with you on a lot of things as far as CGC and CBCS is concerned.
Yeah.
I don't agree on basically the insurance aspect of it,
Yeah.
because I've talked to a lot of insurance brokers as
Uh-huh.
far as, and they tell you if you can get it graded by a third party and you actually have documentation that is graded,
Yeah.
you will get the full value that way. Otherwise, it's up to their
But then,
determination.
but then here's the thing. I'm gonna cut you right there, right? So, for example, you send out because you don't want to pay out the ass for your book, right? You send out the most minimal freaking amount that you can go ahead and try to insure your book for, right? Because you know the higher you insure it for, the higher the value of your book. Then you start going into those brackets where now you're gonna have to go and give. I don't know if they changed it or not because I haven't checked on CGC, but at some point they were taking what was it 3% of the fair market value for the book itself. So
Oh,
they
you
would
pay for the
charge you with
nose.
them.
You pay
Yeah.
for the nose. It's not even
So
worth it.
so here's my thing. So you do that, right? And then you have a book because you don't want to pay nothing crazy on it. You go ahead and say, the value of my book is $350, but in reality, for example, it could be Ultimate Fallout 4 1 in 25. Your book should be technically worth 40 grand, right? So you don't want to do that because you don't want to go ahead and pay CGC more money for them to grade a modern book. You're going to go ahead and take it to the least amount. So when you go and present that to your insurance, you're literally only going to get what you asked for, $350. You're
Well,
not going to
yeah,
get anything beyond that.
no, yes and no. I'll tell you why. Because when you provide the documentation of what the grade is, you're going to provide multiple sources of price evaluations from different price guides, basically
Yeah.
stating the price, and they're also going to take into accountability what the recent sales are. So it gets a little complicated. Listen, the insurance companies love to fuck everybody. So have as much as you can in your hands for that rainy day or that in that emergency situation, so you don't have any issues. That's the only reason I'm a little bit like that. By the way,
Yeah.
I want to personally thank you. I want to personally thank you for sucking all the freaking joy out of my whatnot experience with all your rants and raves about how they copyright infringe music and stuff like that. I can't play music anymore. I don't have fun anymore when I'm selling my freaking comics. It is the freaking. I'd rather watch paint dry, and I have you to thank for that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling them out on the freaking music and making a big freaking stink about it. So now I can't play my retarded music. I can't play any. I can't do anything. It's not fun anymore. Thank you so much. Like, out of all the things you could have really made a big deal about, did you have to make a big deal about this stupid music? You could have left that alone.
Hold on. First off, I did not, and the receipts are there. I did not make a whole stink. All I said, listen, they could get themselves in a world of trouble. It's not just, do you think I care about fucking whatnot? I don't. You know who I give a fuck about is you, Comic Journey. You know why? Because in the end, those guys right there, whatnot will go ahead. The same thing like YouTube. YouTube will go ahead and freaking they'll throw you under the bus in a heartbeat and say, well, he was the one using it on his channel. The terms and conditions under YouTube have changed dramatically.
Oh yeah.
If a music company, a movie company comes after you because you went ahead and used something that was copywritten, they can go ahead and come after you now because why? YouTube has wiped their hands. Well, guess what? Who else was doing that? Whatnot. So if Whatnot and you get bagged for playing whatever Bon Jovi or something on your damn channel stream, and now all of a sudden you get hit for it, who has to pay for it? So you're welcome. That's what it is. That's why I said I was like, I'm not worried about what the fuck happens to Whatnot. I'm more worried about the sellers because they're letting you guys do all that crap,
Shit,
and
man.
you guys
just want
go
to
on there.
stick it to them, and you just
Yeah.
want to stick it with the freaking copy. You found that button on them, which is, listen. I'm gonna say you were right. You're right about what you're saying, but you had to poke the bear. You know, because as long as they allowed it to run, they still
Uh-huh.
were. No matter how they wrote their terms of agreement, they were still accountable. Just like YouTube, regardless of whatever they write. That's why they give you copyright claims on stuff. That's why they hate you. I'm the king of copyright claims here on YouTube. 90% of my content has a copyright strike or claim or blocked or whatever. So I'm very familiar with that.
No, but then here's the thing though, too, Journey. What else does YouTube do to you? They'll hit you with the whistle, then they hit you with a yellow card, then they hit you with a red card, and then they throw your ass off, and you no longer have a channel. You see how long they go for? That's why I try to tell you. It's the same thing that Whatnot could do. Whatnot could go ahead and give you those 4 strikes, and after that, they could just go ahead. You know what? You're terminated, or they could terminate you whenever the hell they want. They could just be like, you're talking bad about Whatnot. They could just terminate you. They could just go ahead and say, where you're no longer allowed to sell on Whatnot. They might not like your face. That's just how the world functions.
Good thing I don't show my face. But I call it I would have rolled the fence until they gave me those warnings. Like I could have played.
I got you.
But
that's the sad freaking shit. Like I said, everybody is always gonna find a way to throw somebody else under the bus. That's how it always is, man. That's just how businesses work. I mean, I've been here long enough on this earth. I work all kinds of jobs, in the restaurant, being a cop, doing all that stuff in the medical field. I have done a lot of freaking jobs. So for me to finally start to recognize like how easily they will freaking throw you. This is why I say you go and play a video game. What do people do? Nobody ever reads the damn terms and conditions of what the hell you're about to get yourself into. They literally try to keep themselves from being liable for anything because they could go ahead and say, well, we're not liable for you having a seizure because we literally put it in small fine print that if your ass has a seizure due to this freaking you're using a PlayStation or Xbox, we're not responsible for it.
Listen, in a world where you could sue McDonald's for burning your ass with hot coffee,
well, that's where a lot of that shit began. Yeah,
there's terms and conditions for everything.
Exactly,
so it is what it is. But I feel like this past year in particular, you specifically, you become that warrior against Whatnot in particular.
Yeah,
maybe not against them, but the bullshit the guy that's calling them out. You're gonna call them out on anything. Was there one specific thing that happened to you with Whatnot that triggered you on that? Why?
I sold on Whatnot, bro.
I know that you did, but I'm saying, was there one instance that just said, "Oh, fuck this! I'm done. I'm done." Like, why?
The very moment I just started to see from my very own eyes, like I said, the very moment that I saw when they said, "Hey, we're calling all influencers. We want all influencers," that was my last straw. I was done because I knew exactly the direction that we're going to be headed.
Thoro, just give me 1 second because I know the blood sausage is new to the channel. The reason I don't show my face is I don't want to take any attention away from Thoro. No, I don't want to take any attention away from
I see this beautiful man right here.
This is all about my guests. It's not about me. So we don't show my face here. Plus, we don't want to break people's screens. So I'll leave that. I'm sorry. You continue.
No, so that was literally the my last straw with them. As soon as they started saying, "Hey, we're going down the influencer route," you started to see who they were bringing in, what they were trying to develop, and again, they didn't need none of that. They honestly did not need any of that. They literally had a platform that was freaking. There was nothing like it. You could not. There was nothing else around to go ahead and compete against Whatnot. Now you're gonna have eBay. eBay is gonna start their whole live sale thing. And the biggest thing out of it was like once you start headed that direction, I know exactly, and I was predicting it. You're gonna start catering to all of them, and then for myself, you, because I wouldn't have taken part in it if they came to me and said, "Hey, we would love to have you do this for Whatnot." That I would have already declined. I would have said, "No, thank you." But for the smaller sellers, what was the number one thing that they hated me saying on my channel was that very moment when I said that all the smaller sellers that are on Whatnot, you guys are sacrificial lambs. You guys are the sacrificial lambs of Whatnot. They hated. I caught so much shit for that. You have no freaking idea. They hated that crap of me saying that so damn much because that was the God honest truth. When I started seeing all that developing, and their motto every time you saw a commercial for whatnot was like, "Oh my God, look what I just bought! I just got this Hulk 181 for $100." And now all of a sudden, boom! Now who is the sacrificial lamb? Is that person that has 8, 10 viewers? Somebody gets lucky, they go ahead and get a Hulk 181 from this person, but then the other guys, the big name ones that everybody always talks about, you go on there and you follow them, and now they sell their copy for way above fair market value.
But
Going
why
on
is that
this,
their fault? We've talked about this
right? Yeah, we
before.
have,
Why
we
is
have.
it their fault? Like if somebody, if there's a moron out there that wants to pay triple the price for something just because
Yeah.
they're into the whole bidding momentum thing and they just can't control themselves, why is that your fault as the seller?
No, that's not them. No, the only time I've ever said that it's people's fault is on whatnot as freaking influencers and sellers is when they started pushing across all that garbage like Ninja Funk, and you start trying to let people know. And yes, I've seen people have sent me recordings of folks literally letting people like selling it to them like you guys are going to be making millions of dollars off of this, the way that they did with Image Comics back in the early 90s. That's what drove me fucking nuts. It's
So
not the fact that if somebody goes and sells for, like, example, Journey, you're an influencer on whatnot, right? You go ahead and sell something, that Kool-Aid man right there, and you know that Kool-Aid man only goes for $5. Somebody gives you 200 for it. I'm not gonna blame you for that shit. Why? Because yes, if somebody loves you that much and they're like, you know what? I'm gonna freaking give this guy $200 because I still want to see him on whatnot. I love his enthusiasm. I love what he does, so on and so forth. That's not what the hell I'm going after. The shit that I go after is that
well, nobody's gonna
tacky
watch me now
garbage.
because I have no music.
Yeah.
But
But it's that tacky shit of them going on there and trying to give and promising people the world, knowing very well that's what got me started. When the folks on YouTube were going out there and starting to tell people, "Oh my God, you got to get this book. You got to get this book." Now, what does everybody do? Those same folks go on YouTube and now they put out disclaimers. They put out disclaimers saying, "Oh, you know, buy the book if you like it. We're not telling you to buy it. We're not telling you to buy it, but we have it on a list. We have it on a list." So those are their own little disclaimers. So what was going on with whatnot? Whatnot, they were going in there, they were pumping and dumping the same shit that was happening when I got into it, and all of a sudden that ignited my fuel, my flame, should I say, where I came to that very point where I was like, you know what, this is fucking stupid. Like I can't stand this garbage. This is nonsense. And now you're trying to sell people on this. This is what gets rid of people in the hobby. When people are left with a bad taste in their mouth, you think they're gonna come back to your restaurant?
well,
Absolutely not.
that's always been the case, though. This is not something new that's been happening in the comic industry and the card. Remember what the hell happened with the baseball cards in the late 80s,
Oh
early
yeah.
90s?
And I'm
I
not
mean,
saying it's just comics, dude, because I've said it before. This shit also takes place with the people that have their own community built of the card sellers, the people that are dealing with video games, the people that are dealing with vintage clothing, the folks that go and and they go and freaking do like backyard sale picking and all that stuff. Those folks are the ones that are always they all listen. I don't think I have ever seen so many people have so much hatred and animosity towards each other since the inception of whatnot, bro. In all in all honesty, since the inception of freaking of that, they knew who they were picking and choosing, and they knew who they were gonna freaking support, because the whole point of that platform in the beginning, when I got sold the dream, right, was we are gonna help everybody. That's what I enjoyed. That was the message that they gave me. That's what I was looking forward to. We're gonna help absolutely everybody on the platform when we're gonna build you guys because we want to be the top-notch selling platform out there. That mission got cut off the very moment when they said we are looking for all influencers, and at that very moment you knew where everything was going. There was no support for anybody else there that has maybe less than 1,000 followers. Anybody that has 5 people, 10 people on a live, you don't get that support that you get up there. That's you already knew. So as soon as that started happening, brother, that was the moment when I was like, you know what? Whatnot is a piece of garbage.
So
I'm freaking done.
we've been tossing the word influencer around a lot. Okay, so you've kind of changed your tone about influencers a little bit over the past couple of months. You kind of evolved from going from
Yes,
influencer to manipulator. You know exactly what an influencer is, and I think that
of
the
course.
world that as a dictionary could understand what an influencer truly is. Do you consider yourself to be an influencer, and is that a bad thing?
No, because if you have that's the thing that's what the word influencer was taken. That's why I switched it over to manipulator. Because an influencer is somebody that's coming in there who's bringing in positivity, who's making a change for the better. These folks are not making a change for the better. That this was literally manipulators manipulating absolutely everything. I mean, and when the moment that they got exposed, I always got to give a big shout out to Black Flag Comics because that was the very moment when everything got exposed. That was that moment. That was like the freaking eye-opening moment for absolutely everybody because at one point, like I said before that, people used to think I was crazy when I was talking. I was the guy that called out CGC for all that bootleg freaking gradings that they gave to those acetates after the damn book was already pre-done previously. I called all this out. And sure as hell, how do you give a book that was freaking has an acetate cover added after manufacturing? You're giving it 10 O's and 9.9s and 9.8s. That's impossible. That's impossible. And sure as hell, when that got exposed, you remember what CGC said. CGC was like, we're standing firmly with Black Flag Comics on what we did. And then when I started exposing all that shit and started to bring in the Stray Dogs acetate, along with the help of everybody that was in the chat, everybody was like, yeah, what the fuck? What about Stray Dogs, the acetate? That damn book didn't receive a single 10.0, a single 9.9. It was a shit ton of 9.8s, 9.6s, and 9.4s. So how is that possible back then to do that when you knew that you added something that the person that created the store who doesn't have the right to freaking put an acetate on the cover, now all of a sudden you give it, and then after that, after all that fight, what happened? CGC under the green label and that shit.
Well, you did forget to mention all the extra staples they gave you with that acetate.
And
I
that,
mean,
yeah, and that too.
there is extra value in those staples that they added in there. You know that was a whole colossal mess. A colossal, but that Black Flag mess was a colossal thing. That
Best thing
uh,
to ever happen.
yes and no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
best thing
yeah,
to ever happen.
yes and no. It was a great way to expose CGC's bad grading habits, but it was also a way to expose how foolish people are as far as immediately dumping their money on stuff. Because that
Yeah.
comic, with that Aztec, how much was it selling out of the booth at
85.
eight?
85. And then the worst thing he could have even done was after they sold out and they knew who they sold them to, who they sold it out to. After that, then all of a sudden you go back into the well. After you said there was only a certain number of these made, you go back into the well because you knew you had way more than that. You go into the well and then you go to give it to everybody else left in line and say, well, these are now $100 because this has become a hot item in line. And you give, and now you're selling that shit for $100 to everybody else after you just sold everybody else in the front of the line for 85.
Yeah, it's
Dude,
pretty ridiculous. It's pretty ridiculous. But I also throw a lot of blame on the people that waited on that line and waited to overpay for a comic that had a piece of plastic on top of it.
yeah.
Because that's basically what it was. I got the bonus plastic.
Everybody knew though. Everybody knew except for the select few. They knew ahead of time what was going to be put out, and then next thing you know, everybody knew that that book was going to be put out that very day because anything you already know, anything Miles Morales, you go ahead and mention Miles Morales, and now all of a sudden it has this cool cover. Don't get it wrong. I said it, man. Genius fucking idea. Genius fucking idea. If they got away with it,
But is
but
it $85 worth of a genius of idea?
to some person out there is 85 because then you look at it, look how much the very same day that that book already went for sale, I was keeping an eye and keeping track on eBay, and people were paying 500, people were paying $1,000, people were paying ridiculous amounts of money for that damn book. And as soon as everything went ahead and everything got exposed, you saw the dramatic drop in how much that book was going for.
You know,
It was like it was night and day, dude. It was like 1 second is like, hey, yeah, $500, 900, and again, and this was also the demise of all these exclusives. That was the very moment. That was the starting point. Because I've always said it. I've been at cons, dude. I've been behind the scenes. I know exactly what they were doing. People, these stores will come out and say, "Oh yeah, we this is limited to 1,000," but then there's 3,000, 2,000 other books left behind in the table. And if they sell out of something, they were going back there and saying, "Oh yeah, I think I have a couple more," and then go ahead and sell it to anybody else that's asking about the book. And for me, you can't sit there, bro, and tell me that that's not wrong. For me, that's fucking completely wrong because now you just manipulated the damn print count. You initially said it was only 1,000 or whatever. This is just a number I'm throwing out. And now all of a sudden you go out and put 500 more because there's 500 more people asking for the book. So
It's
now
a
you're at
1,000%
1,500.
wrong. It is 1,000% wrong, but I still don't take any accountability away from the people that are individually taking their money, their
Oh
hand
no,
in
yeah,
their pocket, and actually feeding that. Because that time period was FOMO at its highest. That
yeah,
was FOMO at its highest. And you know what? You've said this in the past on your streams. Sometimes people need to learn a lesson before they actually figure out what they need to do going forward. And
yeah.
that for a lot of people, I think, was the lesson learned. I think a lot of people made that big mistake. They spent a lot of money, and I'm sorry that a lot of people went overboard as far as spending money that they may or may not have wanted to on that. But they were the sacrificial lands for other people to be able to realize what was being done.
Yeah. That's literally what it is, bro. In this industry, I've been seeing it. I've been seeing a lot of stuff. It's the same reason why like people ask me, they're like, bro, hey, we heard you have a comic shop. How's that going? I distanced myself from my partner who I had because there was a lot of nonsense going on. There was a lot of shady business. I'm not that type of business person. I value my reputation before I value the money. The money's gonna come. Your reputation, you can never get it back. You know what I mean? Once you taint it,
Absolutely right.
that's it. You're done. So for me, when people ask me about that, everybody was like, "Listen, yeah, me and my ex partner, we were night and day. I'm more on the freaking side of like, hey, I gotta maintain my integrity. I gotta maintain, being that person that comes out here and I talk about what I talk about, and I'm upholding that because that's me. That's naturally me. I'm not putting on any character behind the camera or nothing like that. So, and even in real life, I'm the same way. People that have met me at Baltimore Comic Con were like, "Holy shit, you are the same type of person." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna put on an act. That's not for me. That's never been the type of person I am." So when I start seeing shady business happening, and I'm not, yes, I get it. We're trying to maintain a brick and mortar, but you could always maintain a brick and mortar. Why? Because you need your customers to keep coming back. They need to know that, hey, this is a place that I know where they value me as a customer. I'm gonna keep going back. And I've always had people asking. To this day, I'll see people out here in the street who ask me, they're like, dude, they're like, we miss you over there. We miss you. What happened to you and your wife? And I was just like, oh, it's a long story. I didn't, because I didn't want to sit there and have a conversation about it. So I would just, I said, I was like, yeah, I'm no longer affiliated with it. So my biggest thing is why? Because I'm not into the shadiness. I've freaking been so against it from the beginning. Why would I end up in it? And that for me, I just wiped my hands. I was like, have a nice day. You take care of that. I don't want nothing to do with this.
So
And that's how people are. But hey, it is what it is. To each their own. That's how I like to say.
yeah, I mean, you have your moral code and you're sticking by it, uh, and that's honorable. Like I look at it like this: whether you're right or you're wrong, if you have a certain set of beliefs and you stick to them, that's your beliefs. And the way you go about things is the way you go about things. The one thing that I'm going to jump onto, because you did mention Baltimore, and that was
Yeah,
that was a little bit of a polarizing thing that you got into with the Baltimore. Now, you've been labeled by other people as far as the thug comic community member, the
yeah,
tough guy. the bad guy, um,
Mm.
a different kind of bad guy than I am. You know the guy that is
It
going to look.
incites violence.
Yeah, you're looking for trouble.
Yeah,
So when you went down to Baltimore and you went for a specific person, I don't know if you want to get into it.
yeah.
You went to go and search out a specific individual. What was your thought process? What was your true thought process of why you went to go do that? And what did you expect to happen? Because I have my own opinion, and I think I vocally told you what I thought as
Yeah.
far as what I listen. This is a comic community. What do you
Yeah.
expect? A bunch of comic geeks and nerds and stuff like that. They're gonna get into a Royal Rumble. I don't see that happening. You know what I'm saying? You'll yell a lot at each other. You might get a couple slap fights out of it. But what did you expect to actually come out of that whole situation? Other than were you looking for a reaction from people? Were you just going for that shock value, or did you specifically really, really think that something would have happened there?
No, I didn't think nothing was gonna happen. First off, that's the reason why I went live on Instagram right after I got out of Baltimore. And I told everybody, look, folks, I was like, nothing happened. Nobody's gonna put their hands on me. Nobody's absolutely doing nothing. My motive for it to go there was to literally talk to one specific person. That was Mr. Bolo, because I wanted to see if he had that same energy that he represented in that whole narrative that he sent me on Instagram. I wanted to go ahead and see if he was that same way in person, because people love to act a certain way behind camera. People love to act a certain way while they're typing and doing all these things, but in reality, they're not that type of people. So I was gonna go over there, have a conversation like an adult, and say, "Hey, what is really your problem with me? Are you mad because I'm exposing absolutely everything going on with whatnot? Is that why you're angry? Let me know, because you don't know me wholly as a person. I've said this before, and I say it again. You will never know me to that very moment that you invite me into your home, and you go ahead and I sit down across the table from you, and we're having dinner, we're having drinks, or we even go to a bar or something. Then you could go ahead and say that you truly know me for who I am. But till then, don't start assuming and saying certain things about me when literally I'm calling out all the bullshit that you have been bringing to the table. And that's the thing that like I said, that's what I was looking to have a conversation, an adult conversation, face to face, because that's all I wanted. Did I ever think that that guy was gonna put his hands on me or do something? No, they're not. Am I gonna put my hands up? No, I'm not that freaking dumb. Again, I know what I have. I have a lot to lose. I have my wife and I have my two girls. I'm not gonna do anything unless somebody does something to me. If somebody does something to me, then at that point it's fair game. You know?
I had no doubts in my mind that you were not going to go and instigate a fight. Surely for the reason, and everybody knows this, that you're an ex-cop and you know how much shit you're going to have to deal with if you did,
Exactly.
especially after you
Exactly.
publicly said that you're going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because,
Mhm.
now you're going premeditated. It gets a whole different thing. So I knew nothing was going to happen out of that. But it just, you had a certain like electricity in the air from people buzzing. They were talking about what was going to happen and this and that. They were almost expecting Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier going to happen or something like that. And it was something that kind of fizzled after that. But
Yeah.
while you were on that whole Bolo thing, I know
Yeah.
that you've had like you kind of targeted some of the influencers. Let's call
Mhm.
them influencers through whatnot, specifically Nerdy Girl and
Yeah.
Comic Tom and
Mhm.
all these individuals. What is it like? Do you personally dislike these people, or is there something that you like? You hate them? Is there a reason why you went after them, other than the fact that they're their personalities?
No, it's just the bullshit, man. It's the bullshit. It's the fucking frequent lies. Like you saw me, I did an interview with Nerdy Girl. I had a conversation with her behind, and I told her I was like, I'm never gonna see eye to eye with you, but I respect you. I respect you for the fact that you came on here and decided to talk to me and have a conversation with me. And for anybody else, it'd be like, yeah, they'll never try to go ahead and talk to me or say anything because they know immediately. They're like, damn, he is gonna put me like I was designed for it. if I want to put you under the spotlight and get you to freaking go ahead and just make a comment of anything against the crime that you committed, I'm gonna get you to do it. That's what made me good at my job, you know, and that's what I was there. That's my aim. Just go ahead and just admit. Stop freaking sitting there. Stop lying about all the garbage that you've been doing. You know what you've been doing. All the stuff is out there. The evidence is out there. You know, the proof is out there. Again, do I tell people to stop watching Comic Tom? Absolutely not. Do I tell people to stop supporting Nerdy Girl? Never once. Never once have I said that. And people can go watch every single video because even her own husband came on my channel and started saying, I even asked him, I was like, go ahead and please tell me one time that you've ever heard me tell anybody to stop liking Nerdy Girl or following her or anything of that. No. After that interview was done, all I said was, you guys make your own judgment. I know what I got out of this. And that's why, like I said, I told Danielle, I got to know her a little bit better as a person. And yeah, and that's what I said. All I told people is like, you use this information and you be the judge yourself. That's the reason when you go to court, what do to find you guilty or not? They have a jury, right? Mm-hmm. So the jury makes up their mind and they say, hey, you know, the following evidence has been presented for this case, so on and so forth. And we go ahead and determine, are you guilty or are you not? And that's why I left it as that. I never told anybody, hey, stop supporting Nerdy Girl, stop supporting what she does. No, absolutely not. Go ahead. You know, you guys, like you said it earlier, right? If somebody wants to go ahead and pay, for example, because she caught a lot of shit for that jacket situation. And I know her husband, Adam, came on my channel and explained the whole thing, that she was never going to sell that jacket until that very moment that she had 10,000 followers or whatever it was. And then at that moment, she said that she'll sell the jacket. And then somebody ended up buying that $15 jacket for like $200 or whatever the hell it was. All right. So now I got a better understanding of it. But at the same time, you gotta think about it. It's all about the optics. That's like me coming out and doing something and saying like, oh yeah, guys, start buying these whatnot books. And I'm all against it. That's that same situation. It's like that's what the hell I'm completely against. I'm not gonna go ahead and sell people and say, oh yeah, oh my God, this is the first time the Hulk farts in a comic book, folks. This is gonna be money. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, but that jacket situation is a little bit different. You know, like let's think of it like this: that hat that you're wearing right now. You wear that hat all the time. Okay, it's kind of getting it's not quite there, but it's getting synonymous with you because you've been wearing it a lot lately.
Well, I wear different hats all the time. It's not the only hat.
I've seen you a lot with that hat, that specific hat.
Yeah,
it's a nice hat. But let's say one day you decided, hey, I'm going to put it up for auction. And people like it because it was sitting on your head. And they decide, hey, I'm going to pay $500 for Thoro's hat. Are you gonna expect people to be up in arms because of that?
Of course, but then here's how I do things differently, though. My biggest thing is, okay, somebody gives me $500 for this hat. I bought this hat for $45. So now guess what I do? Me being me. I don't have that in me to go ahead and sell somebody my hat for $500 knowing it's a $45 hat. I would actually go in there because we're all comic book people, right? I would actually go and find stuff to give you the equivalent or even higher than what you paid me for this hat and send that to you. Because I don't have the heart to go ahead and sell you my hat for $500 because I wore it. Who am I? I'm not nobody special. I've said this before and I say it again. I am no different than the next person. I'm not no different than you. I'm not no different than anybody else in the chat or anybody else watching this on a rewind. That's the difference with me. I could not bring myself to that point where I can go ahead and say, I'm going to sell you my hat for $500 and just send you this $45 hat for it just because I wore it. That's the difference. So I can't expect that from everybody. I can't expect Danielle to do what I'm doing because that's Danielle. That's the whole point when I make that reference. Like, I'm built differently from everybody else because yes, I am. I'm built different from everybody. I'm not going to be built like you are. You know what I mean? Yep. That's why I always make reference to that.
Now, I definitely do respect that, and I can actually relate to that because anytime somebody might have overpaid on a bid or something like that, I feel bad and I throw more things in there because one, it's smart business because I want the person to come back to me and get more stuff and be happy.
Exactly.
The other thing is, I don't want them to ever say, "Oh, this guy ripped me off." I don't like that either. However, I am not in the business of that. The whatnot stuff I do as a goof, just to get rid of some extra stuff.
Yeah,
That
no, I got you.
But if I was in the business, if I own an LCS or something like that, or if you own an LCS or a hat store or a place where you resell stuff, would you look at it from the same perspective? Would
I
it
still do.
change
I
your opinion?
Nah, and I'll answer that right away. I still do. And the reason why is because, again, I want people to freaking keep coming back. I want folks to come back. It's the same thing. The couple of kids from the time that I had the comic shop for that very brief moment, the beginning of last year all the way to June, because then in June I parted ways. From that very moment, anybody, I mean, it was like three different kids. I gave stuff to some kids that, because I was like, yo, these kids, cool, they're interested in comic books. They went ahead, they paid for the comic books, and I was like, you know what? Hey, go ahead and go grab yourself 2 other comic books from the back bin over there. Check those out. It might be something. They're like, oh, really? I didn't have enough money. That's why I only bought this. All right, cool. Go ahead, take that. Next time, guess who came back? The kid and his parents. His parents come in and they said, hey, we really want to thank you a ton. My kid was ecstatic when he got home. He bought his comic books and you gave him extra, and we'd love to come in here and spend some more money. Thank you so much. They come in there and they ended up coming and spending more money.
That is actually a part of being a smart business.
Exactly.
That I definitely relate to, but at the same time, you also do have bills to pay as a LCS, a brick and mortar rent,
and the bills were getting paid.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I'm saying. Like, here's the thing. You know what's the number one reason why people turn away and they get turned off by people? All right. Same reason why I got turned off by a lot of people when when it came down to people selling things to me, was they would promise you a whole bunch of shit. They would promise you a whole bunch of nonsense. And from that very moment, when you become the type of buyer that's pretty much at that point where you're just kind of like, you're trying to make sense of what it was that you just purchased. If I bought that said item from Danielle, I would go and be like, man, like, I paid $200 for this. I gotta go see how much the jacket costs. And I go and find the jacket going for $20. Don't you think that would freaking dramatically hit you, especially when you have folks who don't have money in their pockets? And sometimes, yes, you're right. You do have the fools out there that decide and make those purchases, so you can't blame the seller on a lot of stuff, which I don't, because it's also the responsibility of the buyer. But in the end, because they do genuinely give a fuck about you as somebody that influences them, and they believe in what you're bringing to the table, they go ahead and say, you know what, I'll drop my last $200, because let's be honest, there's people out there like that. There's people that do shit like that. And it's crazy to me. It's crazy to you, but I can't stop those folks from doing that, But for me personally, I do think about everybody. I honestly think about people. Like last night, I had my feed, and we just started talking about life towards the end of the live feed I had. And I told everybody, I was like, yeah, I give a fuck about all you guys, because I went through the burner. I went through hell in life to get to where I'm at. And that's the reason why I share my experiences. That's the reason why I tell everybody, man, listen. But in the end, like I said, everybody, you make your own decisions in life, because you got to prioritize yourself. You got to put yourself first. So you got to take care of yourself before anything else. And there's people that, yes, it's going to take time to get to that point. It's not going to be an overnight process. But for me personally, yes, at the store, I've had multiple occasions. I gave a kid that came in there buying some soccer cards, and he was like, man, I wish I could afford that Cristiano Ronaldo card. Guess what I did for that kid? Gave him the Cristiano Ronaldo card. He took it. He was happy. It was a $10 card. And then guess what happened again? He's like, oh, man. He's like, I got a job and I got my paycheck. I want to buy some more stuff. And I was like, cool, man. You're welcome. You're always welcome. And sure as hell, he came back and freaking spend money. So I can never sit there and say like, yeah, I'm going to be a business person like Danielle is. I'm never going to compare myself to her. She does things her way. I'm going to sit here on my end that I'm going to respect the way that she does things. I can't go ahead and say, oh my God, but do I see eye to eye with her on the way she does things? Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely not.
It makes a lot of sense what you're talking about. And you did touch something that's extremely important. You touched something taking care of yourself. That's a message that I've heard you relay time and time and time again on your stream. Taking
Yeah,
care of yourself, mental health, staying away from toxic people, uh, uh, making sure that you're in a good place in your mind. And that's something that I don't see enough people talking about. And as much as people think you're a thug and actually think you're the
yeah,
bad guy, you
yeah,
actually relay some really, really positive messages, especially when it comes to that. And I do want to give you a lot of credit for that, because I really wish a lot more community members of ours talked about that more, instead of getting into these whole like little like slap fights and crying drama bits
yeah,
about comics and values and stuff like that, and who's the first appearance and et cetera, et cetera. I wish that we did hear a little bit more about that. And
yeah,
that's something that it seems like it's a very personal, like you had to go through your own little journey in life to
yeah.
kind of come to that mindset.
Of course.
And I love that message that you put out there, and I hope that you continue to put that message out there for a lot of people. You
No,
know,
I definitely am. I've had people even message me, and told me, hey, even though you sound patronizing, and listen, like I'm one to, I know my words and I know what they mean. So whenever I'm hearing folks telling me something like that, they hit me with that, like, yeah, even though you sound patronizing, I still, I'm still gonna ride with you. I'm still gonna be there for you. And I said, listen, I respect everybody for their opinion, but the last thing I know is, because I'm out here telling the truth and speaking the truth to people about the reality. I've said it before, that a lot of folks always want to take the truth as like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to absolutely. I'd rather hear a lie, and that's the current world that we live in. Everybody just wants to be lied to, and for me, I'm not down for that. That's why I continued. It was the people that were lying to me. That's why I call those folks toxic. It was the people that were lying to me and feeding into my ego. At the time, I said it. I was 280 pounds. I was overweight, freaking close to having diabetes, pre-diabetic, taking medication for blood pressure, doing all these different things. And who was that helping? That was not helping me. That's when I started to learn I got to prioritize myself. And all these folks here that didn't have the balls to go ahead and tell me what was really wrong with me, and tell me, hey, like, yo, dude, like, you're freaking fat, like, you're getting overweight. I would
it's
have
a lot
never
of shit that
changed.
does.
I would have never changed if it wasn't for one of my friends who literally called me a fat fuck. And he was like, dude, I'm tired of seeing you like this. I care about you. And that was the moment I changed. And you don't get enough of that. You don't get that tough love anymore, because nobody is built for it anymore, bro. And my biggest thing is that you're right. You don't see that. Why? Because a lot of people start to say, "Oh yeah, you're preaching, you're doing this." Okay, cool. Listen, I respect your opinion. Like I tell everybody, I'm not for everybody. I was never meant to be for everybody. But the one thing I do is I respect everybody for their opinions, whether you're against what I say or whether you're with me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change, because that's the other thing that we are in this current world. Nobody can ever respect. Like, for example, if you voted for Biden and I voted for Trump, now all of a sudden I'm being seen as an enemy. And this is just an example, right? And now everybody's like, oh yeah, I like him because he voted for Biden. I don't like you because of Trump. Why would you set somebody apart just because of somebody they voted on, for example? I'm completely against that crap. I believe in who you bring, what you bring to the table, and who you are as a person. If you Comic Journey are the type of person that says, Thoro, you know what? We've built a friendship. I want to stand by your side. I'm gonna be there by your side too. I'm gonna be there. If you ever need support or you ever need somebody to talk to because you are down in the dumps, I'm gonna be there. Nothing should affect that. But now you're in the times where, like, yes, I've lost a lot of friends for the things that I have said, for the things that I do, and because they're like, oh my God, you're changing. And what was the change? I began to take care of myself. When I started to prioritize myself, then all of a sudden the people that truly cared was one person, and that person still sticks by my side. Other than that, nobody else stuck to by my side. Everybody else just went, and I said, nice to have known you. Have a good day. And I don't ever have any regrets about that.
It's funny that a lot of us, it's a society thing. It's not only in our community. We've lost the ability to agree to disagree about stuff.
Exactly.
And that's a sad part of society, especially in this country, because one of the things that this country was built on is basically principles and individual ideas and that kind of thing. And basically, what I've been seeing more and more lately, people have been shitting on each other's ideas if
Yeah,
they are different from theirs. You
yeah,
know, do we agree? Do you and I agree on everything? Absolutely not.
no,
But that's okay. We don't
yeah,
have to agree on things. We don't have to agree on things, but as long as we can respect each other's ideas enough to be able to move forward, I think that's a good thing. Like one of the things I'll give you a lot of credit for on your interviews,
yeah.
and eh, you're a very smart dude. I'm going to tell you something, especially
Appreciate it, man.
when you're doing your interviews, you put out a little bit there. Like you'll have, like you had that Nick GQ situation a couple weeks ago
Yeah, with Epic, yeah, and that was unexpected because I remember I saw a lot of people, and for me, honestly, I could care less what people say in the chats. And one of the things that like I said, that happened on a whim. That wasn't nothing that I had planned out and said, "Hey, let me get Nick GQ and let me get Epic." That just literally happened.
and you could tell that happened organically. It wasn't like premeditated as far as
No,
how combustible it became, because it became a very
yeah,
combustible.
it
And
was
if
all over the
anybody
place.
and if everybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, go back a couple of weeks and go look at that interview. It was a really interesting way of seeing how people mentally break down like this against each
Yeah.
other. It happened like it was like a real I'm not gonna say crazy situation. Um a very
It was a bad business deal, dude. That's literally what I came down to after everything concluded. I told everybody this literally just comes down to a bad business deal between the two.
and it also happens with people not being honest with each other. I think there's lying
Yeah.
on all sides.
Oh
I,
yeah, of course.
I really
Yeah.
don't believe that situation. But what I do give you the credit for on that, you took a situation that happened on a whim.
Yeah.
You basically laid out a couple of things. You kind of gave a guideline, and you sat back and you let them go at it. And you every so often you jumped in and basically put everybody in their corner where they needed to be.
Yeah, especially when they were jumping on top of
Yeah.
each other at the same time. Yeah, you can't have that, or else nobody's gonna understand what the hell is going on.
So that kind of gives you a little bit. That's why I say you're a smart dude. You know where to jump in, where not to jump in. Uh, it's something that I guess you picked up along life, as far as being able to, when you pick up somebody that you suspect of something or whatever the case is, what do? You let them talk until they bury themselves.
Yeah,
It's the same kind of situation when you're doing these interviews. All right, I'm going to say a couple things. That's enough to spark you. Let's see what you have to say, kind of a thing.
yeah,
And I'm not going to interrupt. I want to hear what you have to say. And it's funny the way it actually came together like that. You don't see that many people doing that. You see a lot of kumbaya interviews happening.
yeah.
You see a lot of we all love each other kind of a thing, which it's nice. It's a nice message. Like it would be nice if we all loved each other. We never fought and never.
Yeah.
It'll be like an oasis kind of situation, but it's not a true situation. And
Exactly.
and and the other thing is, regardless of whether you like it or not, and whether anybody wants to admit this, that people love drama. People are freaking addicted to drama, and I could guarantee you, you had a big following. I was in that commentary, and I was just sitting there and embracing the whole thing and like taking in all the information. Um, and I got my own personal opinions about that kind of thing, but it's not my position to like get into that because I don't give
Yeah.
a shit. They could cut each other's throats. It's not my problem. It's not affecting my family. So if they want to kill each other, go ahead. I don't give a crap. Um, but I'm serious. Is it bad that I'm like I feel that way?
Not at
Well,
all. Not at all.
entertain me.
Yeah.
All right. You guys are fighting with you. All right, I'm seeing you guys fight with each other. Doesn't affect me in life. It affects you guys. You're making jackasses of each other and publicly airing your laundry. just like the now don't get me involved with that black flag situation when he popped out with his marital situations. But
Yeah.
okay, we'll do which is but it's entertaining as hell. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that much. I could guarantee you that in that chat you had people that loved you,
Yeah.
and that you had people that hated you in that chat. I could
Mhm.
tell. And then you had the people that say they hate you but always watch you for some reason. How's that work out? You know,
It
it's
doesn't.
funny. Isn't it funny how you have the hypocrites that say, I hate that guy, but they're there every freaking week. Sometimes
Yeah.
they comment, sometimes they don't, but they're always lurking around
They're
and
there.
watching.
No, exactly. And that's something that I've always called out too. I've always said it. I was like, you guys know who you are. You guys are watching right now. You're not commenting because if I have 70 something people live and there's only literally 20 people who are on there commenting, then that means 50 people in that in that live are just sitting behind, just lurking. Nobody is commenting, nobody's saying anything. So that goes to show you this is the thing that I want people to understand about me is I'm a very observant SOB. I pay attention to absolutely everything. That is the other reason too why I've shared with a lot of people and I've said, listen, 1,000 times. How many times have I said this? Everybody tells on themselves via their social media. Always say that. This is how I used to freaking get criminals all the damn time. Everybody does. All the influencers, everybody, they're
Mhm.
always showing what they're buying. They're showing what they're doing. They're telling on themselves exactly what they're doing with the money that they freaking sold you guys on, that they made from you, that they sold you on selling those ninja funks and all this other stuff, right? So
You
a
really
lot
love
of
Ninja
stuff.
Funk, don't you?
Yeah. What happened?
You really love Ninja Funk, don't you?
Oh, fuck that fucking thing, dude. That shit was, oh my god. I don't even know. And listen, I don't have nothing against JP, man. JP McFly, he's a good guy. He does a lot of stuff. He does charity work. He does a lot of things. And yeah, for me, I said it before. I say it again. I was like, I would have him as being a friend of mine. If we were like tight like that, I would have told him never to put that out. I would have honestly told him never to put that out because I've read the damn thing. I've read the thing. Like I would want one of my friends, if you would have created a comic book, man, come to me, let me read it. I would love to tell you because I would be freaking god honest with you about the whole damn comic book and tell you, man, what the hell's going on here?
So, like, I know that art, this is a form of art, is subjective for a lot of people.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, and I know that you hate it. And I've heard from many, many people out there that they hate it. Do you think that there's actually anybody that loves it? Because I haven't heard those people yet. There's
No,
got
I
to be
haven't.
there's got to be somebody that loves it, right?
But here's the thing though, Journey. Like my biggest thing that I had an issue with, right? And again, the receipts are out there. Not one single damn time from anybody that sold that damn book did anybody mention the story. That goes to tell you enough that there really wasn't nothing to be mentioned about. And their whole motive was like, here you go, this is the cover, this is this, and this is what we're selling. Not once, not even the people that are high up there, like friggin' what's his name, Jack DeMayo. Now none of those folks ever spoke about the story. Not a
Well,
damn one single time.
it's funny that you just said that the folks of the Whatnot and Jack the Mail and everything like that because I had a Bueller on last week. Well,
Mhm.
comics by Bueller, and
Yeah,
he had an agreement with Whatnot and with the bus and wrapping it and doing that whole Whatnot adventure with the cases. You said that they never took the time to actually read the comics or know the story.
no,
They wrapped his freaking bus with Whatnot logos, spent a good amount of money. They were paying him on a monthly basis to be, a representative of their company. And they never once actually walked out when he would meet up at the cons with them to actually take a look at the bus, to actually
yeah.
go up close and see what their investment looked like. So do you think it's more of a situation of them just being negligent and just not giving a shit? or
No, they honestly don't give a fuck.
or is it that they generally like they don't believe in their product?
No, it's not even that. I honestly, I've said this before and I'll say it again. They didn't give a damn about Bueller. They didn't give a damn about Bueller. And that's why
Really?
for me, I was like, his video, cool. You know, you're giving information to a lot of people. But for me, I just almost found it pointless because he always kept going back to like almost making excuses and saying, oh, yeah, but you know what? I forgive him for this. But, you know, hopefully we do business again. Dude, like if somebody does that, they don't give, and you literally sat there and said that you were so damn mad that they didn't even want to take a minute. It literally doesn't take nothing but a damn minute for you to walk outside the convention, go and look at the bus. I would be doing that, especially if you represent my damn company. You think I'm not gonna go look at this bus? That just goes to show you where you're being prioritized. They don't care. Bueller himself said it that, hey, I felt uncomfortable selling these folks these books because he received comp packs. He literally said, I felt uncomfortable. I was glad that there wasn't too many people on there and people were buying the books for dirt cheap. But again, then you go to somebody else's channel and they were selling it for well over hundreds of dollars, right? So for him to sit there and say, yeah, you just were never that guy. You were never wanted because you weren't the salesman. You weren't that type of person. You specifically sat there and said, I don't sell books. That was not that's not me. I just wanted to go ahead, share my bus, tour around the whole United States,
Yep.
and bring the bus to wherever their events were going to be. That's what I wanted to do, and perfectly fine. But at the same time, it's like that was my whole thing with that video was that yes, why would you even make a video if you're just going to sit there and make an excuse? It's like say it for what it is at face value. Even for me, if they at that point they breach the contract or the contract is done and you're no longer, you think I'm going to leave that bus wrapped? You would have seen me cut out that QR code. You would have seen me cut out something. I have a knife. I'm sure he has one.
Well, me, I would, but I'm spiteful. I'm a spiteful person. I would have literally took a hair dryer and started like
Yeah, I would have just started peeling everything
ungluing
off
it on
myself.
a live stream, and
Yeah,
I would have become YouTube famous about it. But that's basically, but that's my mind's a little bit different. When it
yeah,
comes to that stuff, we did speak about that, and here, in all credit to Bueller himself with his
yeah,
videos. He's a gentle soul for
yeah,
the most part, and he doesn't like to burn bridges. We got a little into it last week as far as you could see that he was very hurt and
yeah.
he was not happy. He was upset about the whole situation. But
Okay.
even being upset, he's not gonna just sit there and just bash the crap out of people. He
Yeah,
doesn't want to. You never know. The truth be said, listen, you don't like whatnot now in its current state. You might not ever like it, but it might actually evolve and it actually might turn into a better platform. It might have
yeah,
leadership that takes over that actually turns it into something that's a really valuable tool. You don't want to ever shut the door down completely to
yeah.
something that maybe will help you down the line. Like, did you always love eBay as far as a platform?
No, I do my shopping on there. I'm very picky. It's the same thing like the worst
Did,
place I could ever do business on is Mercari. I did business on there 2 times and then I was done. I never went back to it.
did you ever sell on eBay or Mercari?
That this was in the beginning, not a Mercari. On eBay, yeah, I did, but like years ago. This was even way before I started because I used to sell toys and I used to sell comic books.
And you know how much they love comic sellers on eBay, right?
Oh yeah,
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 they
they love them a ton.
adore them.
Yeah,
They freaking adore. They give them all the help that you could possibly think on eBay. It's a shitty service for sellers.
yeah, no, it is.
It has gotten better over years.
Yeah,
It has gotten better. It still sucks, but it is a lot better than what it was. Maybe one day it will be only partially crappy, and you'll be like,
yeah,
yeah, it's okay. I kind of feel the same way with whatnot. It fills a purpose. It's needed in in the industry. I think it can be a much more positive thing down the line than
yeah,
a negative thing if properly utilized and properly done, because it is giving a platform to sellers that they normally wouldn't have, and it's costing them a lot a lot less money to operate than what it would cost on our eBay and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's a positive thing as far as giving options to people. So I'll give Bueller credit on this, that he doesn't want to completely like burn down that bridge. He doesn't want
Yeah,
to
I got you.
destroy everything, but he was very clear. I mean, listen, he broke down and actually put out numbers out there.
Yeah.
I don't think you could be any more transparent than he possibly was as far as that, by being a nice guy at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure that you would have had a different approach if you had the same experience, as far as how the way you conveyed the message,
Yeah, of
because
course.
you know you're just a different dude. I probably would have had a completely different situation talking about it myself. You
Yeah.
know, you
I
know,
would
you,
I would have been talking about it while I'm peeling off all the wrap on my car.
I told you already. I
Yeah.
would have made a whole spectacle out of it.
Yeah,
The event.
that's what I would have done.
I would have made a whole event. The I don't know how do you call it when you unwrap something? Uh you take the hair dryer, you take a lot of heat and it bubbles up,
Yeah,
right?
it just bubbles up and it just starts to come off. Yep.
I would have figured out a way. I would have figured out the way to make it really, really fun and creative, and amuse the shit out of myself while I did it. But hey, that's me. You know what I'm saying? And that's you.
Yeah.
It's not Bueller. You know. So
Yeah.
I got to look at it like that. Yeah, drip is another option. Drip
Yeah.
is another option. It's not great. Don't get me wrong. It's not great. It's another platform.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's much better than Whatnot, and maybe it doesn't have the reputation Whatnot does, and maybe it doesn't
Yeah.
have the influencers involved that Whatnot does. But as far as the operation itself and the app itself, it's got its bugs, it's got its positives. Oh, you got a little mess. You got a
Yeah,
little
my little one right here. This is my 4-year-old. She's the one that's she's lingering around when she's supposed to be in bed. Go to your bed, kid.
She's a
Supposed to be
cutie
around
pie. She's the one I
banging.
always see. She's the one I always see on there. Enjoy that age.
No, of course. Oh hell yeah.
If I could give you one piece of advice as a father, enjoy that age with them more than anything you possibly can. It
Nah,
is
definitely. I'm always I've become very mindful because of a lot of previous people who who've experienced parenthood before I have, and everybody has told me that, and I really do because you don't get them back at that age.
nope.
You have them like this once, and then that's it, man. Those times are
They never
over.
come back again. And I'll tell you something else. Once they get to a certain age, dad's useless, mom's useless. We don't want to hear anything from you anymore. We all we want to do is go out. All those hugs and all those kisses and all that love and all that, you being the person that goes for all their information and learning. They know everything at a certain point. You
Oh
don't know
yeah.
anything anymore.
No, and then that's why for me, I always tell myself like that later on it's gonna be tougher because they reach those moments where they're like, Dad, I don't want to hug you, I don't want to be with you in public, or I don't want to all these different things that you definitely will miss. So that's why for me I take advantage of it a ton right now while I still can, and while they're still my babies, because I told them I was like, if I could I'd send them to Never Land and keep them little forever, but that's just me. But for them, yeah, it's you learn a lot from your kids. They taught me to be patient. They've taught me love, because I don't think there's ever going to be a greater love than that you receive from your kids. And besides a dog, because I've always been a big dog person. But that's one thing that I learned, and not only that, they make you look at the world differently. Sometimes a lot of us as adults, we tend to disregard kids, and we tend to not like pay attention to the things that they say to us, or the things that they're doing. They just live life how life should be lived, without a care in the world. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and I've learned to become like that. I've learned to not really care. Like, I don't care what people think of me. I don't care what people have to say about me. I've come to that point in my life, and that happened to me from the moment that my kid was born.
They change you completely. They definitely change you completely. Do you ever open up a comic and read it to her and show her the pictures and stuff like that, or not
Oh
yet?
yeah, no, yeah, I do it, and it's usually like a lot of the kid comic books. Here's my other one. You see, like, she's coming. She's fighting with her sister. What is it?
There you go.
You want what? Okay, you can play with it after let's done with it. All right. Yeah, Look, you're on camera and people are watching you on camera crying. Look, so you can't cry. You gotta be a big girl, all right?
It's all right. She's a girl. She could cry.
Yeah.
Isn't that how
she wanted the little Spider Punk guitar that I have over here that I'm always hiding. So, but that's how the kids are, man. You know, that's what I tell people. You know, it's never gonna change.
You know what? When do you hear those cries while they're there? You're like, oh my god, my head's pounding. But when their cries are never there anymore, you start wanting, like, missing them and wanting those cries to come back in the house. So, like I said, enjoy them. So, what's the go-to comic you open up to read with them?
Right now it's, you know what, I've been reading they always want me to read the same book, to be honest with you, and that's always the Spidey and His Amazing Friends. That day, you know, it was a free comic book day comic.
Yeah,
that was the first time that was the first appearance of Spidey and His Amazing Friends in comic book format, anyways, for that new comic book day. But that's what they want me to read.
Love that. All the kids, they love those bobblehead Spidey looking comics. I don't know why they love them so much. Like, the bigger the head, the more they enjoy the comic. I don't know why that's the case, but it's something that I don't know. It's so, like, when I was a kid, I didn't like that at all. I really didn't.
For them, it's also because of the cartoon, because, you know, they have a cartoon on Disney.
That's true.
That's what it's called, and that's all they live by. They're all constantly, you know, we go anywhere, they're playing around, they're in the playground and things like that. They're always like, "Oh, Daddy, look, I got my webs," and, you know, they'll do this. They'll start doing all that, and they'll start, you know, playing around, thinking like they're Spider-Man and Ghost Spider, and then of course Miles on the show is called Spin. So that's pretty, that's their lives. So for me, yeah, any comic books that I've ever read, it was that. And then what was the other comic book my daughter loves? It was I think it was Grumpy Cat or something like that.
What the hell's a Grumpy?
I think that's dude, I had no idea. My daughter was the one where I took her to the comic shop and she had ended up picking it out. She's like, "Daddy, I want this," and I was like, "All right, let's go."
I think I missed that one. My youngest is 7, so we might have just missed the Grumpy Cat. We did a hell of a lot of.
I think that was like a big. It was like a giant meme, and that's where it just started jumping off of. It became something that was that became really trendy with that Grumpy Cat, and then all of a sudden they actually made a comic book out of it.
Oh man, you got to see something. You're fortunate to miss a whole generation of weird stuff that the kids used to watch. I went through the Yo Gabba Gabbas. And,
oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And what's it? Some kind of fish thing with, like, I don't know, like some kind of crazy stuff. My kids saw it, so I watched it all with them. I didn't understand any of it, but I watched it. I watched it. My youngest one, he started with my oldest one. He started off with the Powerpuff Girls. What the hell is this? He loved that. But Teen Titans. I have like.
Look, I grew up. Even at 39, I was watching all that. I was watching like Dexter's Laboratory. I was watching Samurai Jack. I was watching pretty much all those cartoons. Powerpuff Girls, I always enjoyed a lot too.
I have nightmares of hearing Teen Titans, like hearing that over and over again, like Teen Titans. I'm like, oh my god, like. But hey, you know what? I'll never trade it all for anything else. Like I'm a Spidey and Amazing Spider and the Amazing Spider Friends guy.
Yeah,
you know, that's what I grew up on, and all that old school stuff. But
yeah.
It is what it is, you know. Like we all got I'm sure my parents they would. Yeah, Baby Shark. There's another one. Oh my!
Oh yeah,
God.
that was Forget it. I did fall victim to that because Baby Shark was constant. IR by Baboon. Yes, 100%.
Oh my God!
But yeah, that Baby Shark. Oh my God, that stuff was driving me insane. I'm glad they got out of it. They got into Coco Melon.
Oh, that's another one.
I couldn't stand that jingle. That jingle just started getting the best of me, and I remember it got the best of me and my wife when we were actually driving back home to New York, and I was gonna go visit my parents, and all I just kept hearing was my daughter and the damn thing, that damn tune, just Coco Melon, the whole freaking ride. I was like losing my mind. I was like, please stop. And it was just after that I just completely despised Coco Melon. And then she watches, my 2-year-old watches what the heck is that thing? Pocoyo. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but it's this little kid that wears this little hat, this blue hat, and he's always walking around with a duck, and he's got a pink elephant friend, and there's a whole there's a
Oh,
whole freaking thing that I'm like, I wonder if these people must have been doing something while they were creating this cartoon.
oh, they're whacked
'Cause-
out. I'm
yeah,
telling you,
yeah,
they're on some crazy psychedelic crap. Like, Ryan. You ever see this Ryan's World thing?
oh man, I can't stand that. But I'm glad
Oh,
my daughter lasted on that for like a month. I'm
jeez.
glad she stopped. But she watches these other. It's another family. I enjoy them. I like how they present themselves. They're big on YouTube. Um, man, what the heck is the name of this family? But the father was like a ex skateboarder, and they go out on trips with the mom, and they got 3 kids. I forget what it is, but my daughters are infatuated with that. And I personally now it got the best of me. Before I was like, oh man, this is cool, but now it literally got the best of me. Oh hell yeah, Bobby's World.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites from back in the days. But yeah, I forget what the heck the family's called. I'm trying to remember. I have it like on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it right now. Yeah,
There's a
that one
lot
got
of,
the best of me too.
there's a lot of crazy stuff out there, but hey, it's all part of the process, I guess. It really is.
Oh yeah,
So you see, people, there is a gentler side to Thoro. There is a fuzzy and warm side to him. He sits in and he watches weird ass cartoons with his kids.
exactly.
He he's not just a mean thug guy that goes out and causes
No,
trouble with everybody. So you have to take everything into consideration. He's a well-rounded individual. He's got his rough ends and he's got his smooth ends. So you did mention that you're married and you have kids. So one of the things that we're going to be talking about in every single interview that we have, we ask everybody's status. You're not available in the market. So everybody out there that wants a little piece of Thoro, you can't have none because he has a wife. Okay. All right.
yeah.
So like he's off limits, people.
Oh yeah, people had known about my wife since the moment I started the channel. Everybody has known about her. Yeah, they usually used to see her right here playing Call of Duty. That was her thing. Late at night, I would do my videos, and she'd just be there playing Call of Duty, and everybody's like, "Who the hell is playing Call of Duty? Is that you?" I was like, "No." I was like, "It's my wife. She's there." She would end up cursing and everything, and everybody was like having a field day.
That's right. That's right. Thoro is off limits to all you single women out there. You come to Journey instead. All right. So
There you
all
go.
that sweet Thoro loving goes to his wife, nobody else. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So it's it's funny. Bueller got into his dating situation a little bit too. It was kind of.
Oh really? Oh really?
I didn't think I was gonna
Man.
get that much out of him, but it was funny that
Hey, you gotta try, man. That's the point. That's what I try to tell people, man. Is listen, like you can't ever knock anything, or you can never say like, hey, I can't do something until you try it. You gotta do it because you never know. Like right now, we're having this conversation. It went from comic books, whatnot, to life, to personal life, and things like that just randomly happen. It's something that sometimes people tend to forget because everybody, for example, somebody does an interview. I always like to ask people, man, how are you? Like how you been? How's your day? How have you been doing? And when I ask people that, I'm genuinely asking, like, listen, I'm talking about mentally, emotionally. How's that all going for you? Because you never know what's going on after a comic journey gets off his channel. What's going on, personally in your life. There's a lot of stuff that could be going on behind the scenes and nobody ever knows. And sometimes you just need that one little inspirational talk. And that's what led me to do what I'm doing now. At the same time, it was also like, you started to see like a lot of people that everybody was like, man, that was a hero of mine. Like when we just saw the Green Ranger, and when the news came out of him taking his own life, and you just see, especially for me and my job, I used to see a ton of people taking their own lives, on a consistent basis. And when you start seeing things like that, it makes you become in tune with the fact that, hey, you do need to talk to people, even if you don't know them. I've had plenty of conversations with strangers. I've had conversations with strangers who, just randomly call my phone and they were like, "Oops, I got the wrong phone number," and all of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm catching myself talking about life with the person. And
That's
things have happened like that.
That's genuinely the most that's the biggest reason I actually watch your channel, because you keep it well rounded. You talk about all
Appreciate
different aspects of stuff. Again, I'm not like blowing smoke up your ass, because I really do believe, if I didn't like your content, or
Yeah.
if I wasn't entertained by it, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. We wouldn't be
Exactly.
interacting, because I probably would have watched it once or twice and I would have never watched it again.
No, likewise, it's the same thing. Like, vice versa. I always tell people, it's, I've had plenty of people who have asked me, can I do an interview? Can you join my panel one day and talk about comic books? And it's like, there's just people that I already know, that just come to me with a bunch of BS, and I just pretty much say, no, sorry, I can't. And you're like one of the few people that I'll go ahead, say, hey, I can sit here because you've been genuine. You've told me, and this is how I know when I get somebody that's genuine. Like you, for example, you've told me exactly, like, yo, this is what I don't like about you. I respect you for that. I've always respected you for that a ton. Because a lot of people don't have the balls to say that. And that's what made me differentiate you from everybody else. And meanwhile, there's other people that, yes, you'll have folks that'll just blow smoke up somebody's ass, and all of a sudden it's like, you could just read it. I could read the room. You know how, like, when you enter a room and you could just read the room, you could say immediately who's there for you and who's going to be against you. That's how I am even when I go into YouTube. Like, you could automatically just right away tell that. Even from people with the way that they comment in chats, it's very telling of who those folks are. I've had the people who are trolls who are no longer trolls on my channel. They come on the channel and they're like, "Hey, what's up, Thoro? Hey, thank you for lifting me up, man. I've been going through a lot of shit in my life for the past year." You'd be surprised. It's crazy how that works out. That's why when you were saying earlier, like, you have people that like you, people that hate you, and then people that love to hate you, but they will watch the living shit out of you every freaking time. And yeah, that's just the genuine truth about it. And it's like I said, man, everybody knows what everybody does, personally, what their motives are. You're gonna have good motives or you're gonna have bad motives. And for me personally, like I said, what was building me to this point now, where I'm trying to be somewhat like, trying to help people build themselves up, is because of all the stuff I've been seeing. I hated seeing it at work. I hate seeing it now in the collecting realm, where literally the last person, Jason David Frank, ends up taking his life. I just couldn't no more. I was just like, man, I hate seeing that. And I would never want that for anybody out there. I've had people who have told me, man, if you haven't had this conversation with me, I probably was going to take my life tonight or the day after. But thank you. You gave me hope. And that's what an influencer is, bro. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's the difference between an influencer and a freaking manipulator. That's why I said I'm gonna stop using that term influencer, because influencers are meant there to lift people up and to give people a positive outlook in life. That's what the term influencer was built from. You don't have that anymore. Again, I made a point with a lot of my videos, because I've said it and I always continue to say it. You guys can look at every single one of my videos as living proof and as a giant receipt as to how much people love drama. Anything where drama was involved, I've gotten thousands upon thousands of views on the channel, whether you like me, you dislike me. And then when people would always be like in the chat, I would always follow it. The chat when I had Danielle's interview, Nerdy Girl, everybody was like, can't we just go back to talking comics? I love just talking about comics. Comics is my life. This, that, so on and so forth. But the moment that you start talking about comics, I get maybe 1,000, maybe like 1.5K views per video when it comes to comic books only. But when it's drama, holy shit. That's why I said I'm just living proof of that. It's like drama, just trust me, drama sells. I mean, it is what it is. But for
And
me,
then
I
you
don't.
have one of those. Then you have one of those mixed bag streams where
Yeah,
you don't know what the hell's going to happen. Like that first stream that I was on with your channel,
yeah,
that went off the rails. Like
yes, it did.
you
Yes,
had
it did.
drama, you had nonsense, you had all kinds of crazy stuff happening. You had a big panel that day. I'm actually, I feel like very fortunate to be part of that panel because it was a fun panel. It was a
Yeah, yeah,
really,
no,
really
it
fun
definitely
panel.
was.
You had Tim going berserk over there. It had Red Hood on. It was that was we have to have a reunion.
It went off the hinges, man. It went off
We
the
have to have a
hinges.
reunion of that panel. You had Rudy with his cowboy hat on. It
And
was
his mic was super freaking high, and everybody's like, "What is he saying?" And all
I
you could
don't
just
know,
hear
but it
was
was
like,
funny.
"Rrr." Yeah, it was hilarious, man.
He was doing the hype man thing. It was it just went off the
Yeah,
rails.
he was the DJ at the strip club. That's how he sounded.
And that was one of those days that you just randomly put a link out there and said whoever wants to
Yeah,
join on.
it was an open floor. Yeah, it was a day that I said, "Hey, let me just do like an open mic, open floor type of situation." And because I enjoy talking to people. Not too many people want to go behind the camera. A lot of people don't want to do that. So majority of people partake. They always partake in the chat. Some people just sit out there, and eventually, little by little, I've noticed there's brand new people that come in. It's not really brand new people. It's people who have been watching, but now they're like, man, I finally have built up to actually type something in the chat and participate. And I'm seeing that a little bit more frequently now on my
Mhm.
channel,
You
which is
get
pretty
people coming
cool.
out of their shells.
Yeah, exactly. And it's pretty freaking cool because it lets you know that people are listening and people, for me, even when folks are telling me, hey, you sound like you're patronizing, but I'm still gonna rock with you, that things like that, I'm like, yeah, I never am going to come off patronizing, because at that point it's me making myself seem better than you, when I've always promoted that I'm no better than anybody else out there. I'm not nobody famous. I was never consider myself anything besides just being me. And if people enjoy what I put out there, then so be it. If you don't, so be it as well, because I don't expect everybody to like me. That's always the biggest thing out of it.
So we talked about how you evolved as an individual, as a personality on YouTube, um,
Yeah.
as a voice on YouTube. You've evolved over the years.
Yeah.
What's the future for you and your channel going forward? Like what do you see your channel going? I mean, is it going to be more of the same, or do you see the evolution somehow making it a little different going down the line? I mean,
Yeah.
you're growing every day. You're getting more and more followers. Is your goal to be YouTube famous? Is your goal to be just you and whatever happens happens? Or like, tell us about what the future of Thoro is on YouTube.
I I live my life, and and whatever comes. I don't. I've had people say, "Thorough, you should be like with 10,000 subscribers, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000." I tell people, I'm like, doesn't matter. It's like, people, if people subscribe. My biggest thing is, I'm not trying to grow to be YouTube famous. My biggest thing is, I want to be a voice for the people that don't have one. There's a lot of people out there that, yes, they have a lot of gripes, they have a lot of, a lot of things that they want to say, but they just don't feel like, hey, I can't do this behind the camera. So a lot of people reach out to me on Instagram on a consistent basis. A lot of folks reach out to me, via the chat, in so many different ways. But me personally, what I want to achieve is, I want to get to that point where I can do stuff for people and give people that, that light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't have that. I had to find it within myself. I had to muster through all that to get to that point. But to have that, man, not everybody is like that. Nobody can. Sometimes, there's people that are treading water and they just drown. Meanwhile, I just kept treading and treading and treading and trying to find to the point where it's like, now you better start swimming and get to the point where you're gonna get to land. That's how I was. I just couldn't give up. I couldn't give up on myself. I couldn't give up on my family, but mainly on myself. That's where I found the main focus, and that's why I always give that message of, but believe in yourself, take care of yourself, prioritize yourself. I know everybody has loved ones. I know people have, a lot of people around them that depend on you, but you're nothing if you cannot take care of yourself. And for me, that's what I really want to get to. I want to get to that point where I can truly be what an influencer is meant to be, and that's to try to help folks and try to give them that motivation, try to give them some sort of spark to say like, hey, yes, I could do these certain things. Does it have to be based about comic books? Absolutely not. You know, like I definitely love my comic books. I've come to the point right now, the reason, like, Journey, the biggest reason why I'm selling my books is because I want more space. It's to help me more mentally than anything, where I'm
I'm with
more
you.
open and not having all these books. Do I love this? Do I hate seeing it go? 100% hell yeah, I do. Trust me, I do. But at the same time, it's like after I've been letting go of books, so far I've already got rid of 2 long boxes. It's been like some sort of relief. It's been like, for me mentally, I'm like, all right, you know what? I have more openness in my area, in my home, and now I can feel more comfortable. I don't have to
You could
feel
breathe.
like I'm, yeah, like cluttered and so on and so forth. But the other thing I want to do with the channel is to educate people on comic books. And when I mean like truly educate, like I mean like give you true and accurate information, not giving people BS and trying to tell people like, oh yeah, this book is hot because of this, when in reality it's not going to amount to anything. So that's what I want to do with the channel, and just since I read a ton and I'm all and I've become so well versed in comics, that's what I want to bring to the table. I want to let people know like, hey, this isn't on Key Collector. I've done it on plenty of occasions. This is not on Key Collector. This is what happens in this book. Nobody freaking knows about this, and nobody ever talks about it. And I know because I go searching around. I go and search on YouTube and type in anything and say, hey, does this blah 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 character? I could write the Hulk. The Hulk takes a dump in the woods. Let's see if anybody has ever found that. Nobody. And then I'm like, hey, I found that. Now we got the comic book to get to, because stories should be valued just as much as the characters. That's my own personal opinion, and I understand people always now is all about like, hey, first appearance, but what created that first appearance? What makes that character who they are? Because it's the same way what makes me was a story. If you don't have a story, you don't have a character anymore. You don't have a villain, you don't have anything.
Well, I'll tell you something, Thoro. You make a real point of saying, um, telling people what's in the book. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it absolutely amazing what you could
Yeah,
discover by actually opening up the pages and reading what's in there?
yeah,
And if you're gonna be, if you're gonna be one of these guys that are actually going to be investing in comics, or you want to do it as an investment, not just a hobby, you want to invest in comics, you should actually open up the damn comic and know what's in there,
yeah.
instead of just like, saying, "Oh, this is going to be the hot book of the day, or the variant, or the cover, or whatever the case is." But and if it's all about Hulk shitting in the
In the
forest,
woods.
well,
But
what kind of shit came out of his ass? Was it green or was it
yeah,
red?
exactly. Was it radioactive? Yeah.
Like we like
Those are the things that people want to know. And it's like you look at everything, right? And it's like every time I'm reading, I always find something new that I'm like, damn, I'm like, I would have never known about this if I was to wait for somebody else to give me the information. If Key Collector doesn't put out everything. There's a lot of stuff that I've been through that all of a sudden then Key Collector updates the app and then Key Collector puts it up
oh,
on there.
they have a lot
And
of catching up to
yeah,
do, especially on the older
uh,
stuff. It's impossible for them to actually pull
no,
out
it
stuff. I
is.
mean, even Overstreet, who has years and years and years of documenting stuff, there's a lot of stuff that's missing from Overstreet as well.
Yeah, big time. Big
So it's
time.
it's understandable. Like, they're not going to catch everything. I'm not against Key Collector. I know that you're not like 100% on board with it.
No, I'm not, but I'm not like, I told everybody, it's a freaking it's a guide. It's
It's a
not
nice
the
tool.
it's not the end all be all. Let's put it that way. There's way too much information out there that has not been presented on that app. They're more, like I said, the thing that bothers me with that app was they created a brand new market where you go to New Comic Book Day. When is there not a single New Comic Book Day, CJ, where you don't ever see a first appearance on a comic book?
I mean, yeah, but that's been happening forever. There's always new first appearances every week since I could remember. We never
Yeah, but
all
not to the extent that it is right now. Because back then, even when you used to have, the second issue come out, third issue come out of a book, you didn't have the mass amount of first appearances that you have currently. You used to have the runs of the books because, like, for me, for example, there's a lot of books that I know out there that I have read personally, and you did not get first appearances throughout. You just ended up getting a story with other characters that have originally already existed, and you had one hell of a story. Right now, it's every single week something has a brand new character coming out. Something has something brand new, and why? It's because of the Key Collector app.
So
It's been a trend.
do you feel that the actual publishers are taking note of this
Of course. Oh,
and
hell yeah.
purposely putting in those first appearances?
They have to, bro, because you
books?
think about it. Look at Donny Cates, right? Donny Cates was the #1 marketing machine out there when it came to pumping his books up.
Yeah.
He would always consistently, and how would he do it? He would do it via Key Collector. And the Key Collector app will go ahead and be like, oh, here we go. And now all of a sudden, Donny Cates was a genius because he would go back into comic books and he would go and say, you know what, let me take this character from over here from back in the 1980s, bring this character out, and I'm going to add him in, and that's going to be a new Venom, or that's going to be, another Captain Universe or some crap, just making shit up. So that's what Donny Cates was good at. He was able to manipulate that in a sense and was causing such mass hysteria over a comic book that, yes, a lot of people were actually reading.
Do you feel that it was
That was
consciously
a big
done?
event.
Do you think that was
fuck yeah.
consciously done just to get that buzz, or was it because he was a
course.
historian of the comics?
It was both. It was a love of comics, and also you want to create a buzz because the only way that you're going to continue working and the only way that you're going to make money is if that comic book sells.
True.
Especially as a writer and an artist. You got to make sure that that comic book sells, because if that comic book sells, guess what? Marvel, DC, whoever is going to come back and they're going to keep bringing you back. It's the same thing along the lines like you look at James Tynion, right? James Tynion is still continuing on Batman. Why? Because he created something. He created a stir around Batman, right? During the time that he was writing. Donny Cates made a name for himself. Why? Because he created a stir around Venom, which became one of the most popular titles during that run where everybody was going. I mean, there was never a new comic book day that I never found people waiting outside of the comic shop early in the morning before the comic shop would open because they were waiting for the new freaking issue of Venom, because they all wanted to find out what's next and what was the next hot keys that they needed to pick up. Now, you don't see that. You don't see that anymore.
The only other comic during that era that I feel that people were generally excited about to pick up was Immortal Hulk. Yeah. Which was hot for a different reason altogether. I think just people like really digging the story on that. And it was just a different vibe altogether. But those are the only two books I ever remember people being like genuinely excited about picking up every time they came out.
Yeah, and in the beginning, it wasn't. Nobody cared about it. I didn't care about it because I remember the last time I ever read anything good from the Hulk was World War Hulk. That was the last time ever. And then after that, the Hulk it was a bunch of nonsense. So I gave up on it. It wasn't until a friend of mine back there in Astoria, he goes, bro, you need to check this shit out. It's really good. And I was like, dude, I don't want to waste my money on a Hulk comic book. Hulk has sucked. And I loved Hulk. So finally, I was like, you know what? I gave in, and I actually went over there. I'm sure you're familiar with Silver Age Comics, right there.
Yeah.
Gus.
Yeah. So that was my place I grew up on.
Yeah, exactly. And likewise. And what I do was I went over there and then I bought it. They had the first issue there. He was like, yeah, this really wasn't ordered, and I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna check it out. Fucking fell in love with it. Bought the second issue. Bought the third issue. All those were freaking low printings because nobody cared. It wasn't until like the fifth issue where then comic book shops started taking notice of it and people started buying into the Immortal Hulk hype, which was well deserved because Al Ewing killed it on the damn book. It wasn't until like
covers didn't hurt either.
Oh hell yeah, dude! And then on top of that, you ended up getting, you got to the point where it was like it got to like issue 35, and then after that, it just kind of went downhill for me. It was like, I
Just
could
like
care
most,
less.
just like
You
most
know,
runs.
yeah, exactly.
You get
And
to a certain
it
point,
was
it starts to become
consistent.
stale.
Yeah, it was consistent for a good amount of time, but then literally after that, it was just kind of like it just kind of took a dive, and and just we haven't had hype on comic books just from reading them since that, bro. We have not seen anything build up since Immortal Hulk and Venom. You have absolutely. I've asked people on my channel too. Please, somebody name something right now that is impacting comic book collectors the way that Venom and Immortal Hulk did back in those days.
So
There's nothing.
you didn't feed into the something's killing the children machine.
I know, yeah, I got into something's killing the children. Yeah, well, that one, like I'm talking about the big two, Marvel and DC, but yeah, I would consider that. I loved it. I was picking up something's killing the children from the beginning because I love to read indies. And that was another one that was there. But now it's like, what honestly do you hear any channel talking? Because every YouTube channel was talking about Hulk, Immortal Hulk, and they were talking about Venom. They were talking about something's killing the children. You don't hear nobody talk about comic books right now.
Well, it's because a lot of people feel that there's burnout right now. There is a lot of burnout. Don't forget, for like about 2 years, people are locked down, having nothing to do in their lives other than read and
Yeah,
watch stuff. So that helped a
exactly.
lot as well. Once people were let out of their cages and they were able to run out and freaking enjoy the world again, some people lost interest. Some people,
Yeah.
some people, they were burnt out. Some people got burned financially by
Oh yeah,
buying all
big
this
time.
stuff.
No,
Don't
big
forget,
time.
every freaking comic right now is $4 or $5. It's
Yeah.
not cheap. It's
No,
not.
it's not, and that's those are little things like that. That's why I try to tell people, that the demise of comic books is coming. It's inevitable. They're not going to continue feeding into that beast for much longer. That's one of the reasons why I say that the only shops that are going to end up surviving are the ones that have back issues. They're the only ones that are going to survive, that have a nice freaking chunk of back issues that people can go through, go back and read. When it comes to comic books as a whole, like that, that's not going to disappear. But the current status, new comic book day, all that, so on and so forth, that's going to disappear. I've watched like recently yesterday because I went to go buy bags and boards because I still have some boxes where nothing is bagged and boarded. The comic books are in great condition. Just I never had the opportunity to bag and board. And now that I'm selling a lot of my stuff, now I can start bagging boarding. But I went there yesterday, and I remember I was like, you know what came out was that Silver Surfer. I was like, let me see if I can grab a copy. I was like, I'll buy it. If not, I was like, I'll just read it digital. So they didn't have any copies, but the one that I was really intrigued by, that I knew right off the bat, was the Blade, the new book for Blade for his daughter. That was just on the walls. Nobody was picking it up.
Yep.
Nobody was picking it up.
Well, I'm going to tell you something that I picked up on. Maybe I'm a super genius, but I came up with a whole theory
Yeah,
behind new comics because I was buying a ton of comics every freaking week. And I'm like, what the hell? It's getting more and more expensive. There was weeks where I spent $100 on stupid comics.
yeah.
And I'm not talking about ratios or anything like that. I'm just talking about just cover price
It's
books
like
coming
A
out.
covers, yeah, A covers, B covers.
And then I got caught up in the whole FOMO. I got to get this. Then I got to get this. I got to get no. I stopped doing all that. There's
Yeah,
there's a handful of books I'll pick up every month because I generally want to read them when they come out, and I don't want to be searching and hunting down for them down the line. And
yeah,
then I figured it out. There's stuff that I'd like to read, but I don't want to pay $5 for it.
yeah,
But I'm also one of these old school dinosaurs that like to actually hold the paper in my hands and not read it digitally. So I discovered if I
yeah.
wait 3-4 months,
Uh-huh.
most of the comic shops, and I'm actually fortunate to have an outlet by me, which will devalue all the comics, and you could possibly get them for 99 cents a piece,
Yeah,
and even
whenever
cheaper.
whenever I'm back, yeah, whenever I'm back up that way, I know exactly where you go. I go there too. I just go and look through a lot of the back issues and just pick up stuff.
So I'll go buy a chunk of comics All right, they're 3, 4 months old. All right, 3, 4 months old, 5 months old. It doesn't matter to me because they're new stories to me anyway. At that point, I'll get them for a fraction of the price. And here's the thing with all the FOMO freaks out there. If I go by that strategy from a financial point of view, if there's one comic that takes off for some reason or another, and it's worth $10, $20 for some reason, because they don't really go much more than that on the new
Yeah.
runs. And I have to bite the bullet to pay $10 for it or $15 for it, I'm still ahead of the other ones for freaking 99 cents.
No, very true.
So, like, think about it. Every week that you're going to buy a stack of comics, let's say you buy 20 comics, there's $100 worth of comics, or whatever. What's the odds that more than one of those books will be a big hit every week?
No, very, very slim, man. Because and I mean, another very telltale sign is that you look at how LCSs are now, right? And every time that I was going in on a Wednesday, and that the freaking just the hype on comics was ridiculous. And I'm not even talking during COVID, dude. I'm talking about like 2018, 2019, and then of course 2020 happened. But when you start looking at that and you start seeing the amount of people that used to go to the LCSs versus what I see now, it's like there's barely, man. Even this one set shop out here by my way that I go to and that I went to go buy my bags and boards from. I remember on Wednesdays that place would be packed. You couldn't even find parking in the parking lot.
Yep.
Now, I went in there, didn't have to wait in line. I just grabbed my bags and boards, and I just talked to the guy that runs the shop. It was a good dude, and he just pretty much is like, yeah, he's like, business is business. And then of course, me being me, because I'm observant. I like to go and see what people are buying. So I just kind of went to the wall and said, hey, let me see if I find that Silver Surfer book. I'll buy it. If not, I'll just read it, which I ended up reading digitally anyways. And I looked and I'm like, yeah, you're seeing a lot of comic books just sitting there on the walls. So it makes you start to wonder, like, hey, is this very moment where new comic book day is going to die, is that looming a lot closer than expected? I'm starting to sort of see that, yeah, because I'm really not seeing comic books moving like they used to back in the days. And you're seeing a lot of these titles that you would personally think that would sell out. But for me, the only title that I saw that yesterday was that Silver Surfer. I asked the guy and I was like, hey, do you guys have any more Silver Surfer? He's like, nah, sorry, I only have available for for my people that have pull boxes, and that's it. And I was like, no, it's all right. And I just walked out of there, grabbed my bags and boards because that's what I needed more than anything. And I'm not buying comic books anyways right now. So that was just very, very intriguing to me, just to see the lack of people coming in to get books, and the pull boxes just look super, super like slim. They're not even what I used to see. I mean, this dude used to have a whole long ass table of freaking people's pull boxes, and even the pull boxes has gone down to like a quarter of what it used to be.
So let me ask about your comic shop, because this has been a point of my aggravation for years with a lot of comic shops, especially in my area. When you have a pull, like from a pull list, do they give you a discount? And do you get bags or boards or both with the comics that you get? Do they offer any of that to you?
So the only thing that you would get would be a discount. They would not give you bags. They wouldn't give you bags and boards.
Okay, at least you're getting a discount.
Yeah, which I understand. I mean, and if you weren't getting a discount, I would expect them to at least give you a bag and board. You know what I mean? Because then to be honest with you, if you were a smart comic book shop, I wouldn't give people the discount. I would just bag and board this shit for you. You want to know why? Because then as a comic book collector, you're like, hey, my investment is protected, so I don't care if I got to pay $5. I don't care, because it's gonna literally cost you. If you're really looking and breaking down the numbers, I broke the numbers down, LCS wise, and I was like, you know what, for me, what comes 100 bags, 100 backboards that come into, that come through in a freaking pack, and then you break it down how much they're selling for, $15 or whatever. Like right now, them shits fucking went up. $18 for bags or whatever.
And they're not coming
And
back down.
oh hell no, it's not. Nope. It's only just gonna keep getting more expensive. So when you start looking at all that, I'm like, dude, that discount, you're just better off at least keeping and trying to make your max amount of money and just giving these folks the bag and board because it's gonna be cheaper. So you might as well go that route than to try to give somebody a discount, because at least again, if my LCS is bagging and boarding for me, bro, you fucking better believe sure as hell I would never complain and say, "Oh yeah, you're charging me full price for the damn cover of the damn
It's
book."
a
I could care less.
collectible. It's a
Exactly.
collectible. You shouldn't go into a place where you're buying your collectibles and it's being thrown at you like a snot rag. And that's what happens in a lot of the comic shops. I'm telling you,
But
it's sad in New York. You would
yeah.
expect that there's a little bit more courtesy when it comes to that stuff because
Oh yeah,
everything is
big
overpriced
time.
to start with.
Yeah.
Very few places. You said Silver Age, they give a discount on it and they give
Yeah,
bags.
they give
And they bag it.
Yep.
They're not so you know. I'll give Gus a shout out for that because he actually he's old school when it comes to that.
Oh yeah, big time.
He cares.
Well, he knows. You know, I spoke to Gus when I was at Baltimore because I haven't seen him in quite some time. And he was over there at Baltimore. We were talking, and he was just like, "Man," he's like, "It's good to see you." I was like, "Yeah, likewise," because I know it's been a minute. And he was just like, you know, I remember he always used to that. You know, his brother would be there. And they, you know, yeah, you would always get a bag and board, and you would get the discount, especially if you were a consistent customer. You know, if you were always repeatedly there, they would take care of you.
Oh
But
yeah,
for me, yeah, but for me, in all honesty, yeah, if they were to bag and board the damn book, I really wouldn't even complain because I'm like, I don't have to spend money for bags and boards. I
they're
mean, think about it, dude.
respecting the hobby.
Logical. Yeah, logical. If you're one of my subscribers at my store, I would give you a bag and board. But am I going to give you a discount? Probably not, because then I make it even. I make it sort of meet in the end. And
You're
you
giving
know, and
something. You're giving
exactly. And
value.
at that point, you don't have to worry ever about having to buy bags and boards unless you have, a shit ton of comics that need bags and boards like I do right now. But other than that, yeah, you're freaking dude. The sky's the limit for you as an LCS doing that. Now, the other problem, I don't know if this ever happened to you, CJ, was the thing that I hated, man, and it used to happen and it used to bother me, bro. Like as much as you want to have a store, and sometimes as legit and cool as people might be, the one thing that always bothered me was when I used to pre-order my comic books, and then they would hit me with the okey doke of, hey, there wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, and we didn't put it in your box. And I'm there sitting like, dude, I spend hundreds of dollars on a weekly basis. How can you tell me that you didn't put one for me? That's
Yeah.
how I used to feel.
Uh-huh.
So I
I've
started to
had.
figure things out. It was always the books that were hot for the week.
Yep.
And that shit used to drive me fucking insane, bro.
Mhm.
Fucking insane. And I don't know if that's happened to you, but that used to happen to me a lot.
It
And I
has
was
happened
like,
to me, and I got into a big fucking deal with this one comic shop about it because I had specific books
yeah,
that I was specifically ordering certain things, and I specifically ordered. There was times because I had a deal with the comic shop where I would, if I ordered 10, they give me the ratio at
yeah,
car price and that kind of thing.
mhm, yeah,
Magically, there were a few times where the ratio was super freaking hot and it
yep.
was super expensive. And they wanted to give me the 10 books that I ordered, but no ratio.
Oh yeah.
How does that work?
Dude,
Or
that used
or,
to that
or
used to
I had
bother
another
me.
ballsy guy turn around and tell me, listen, it's hot now. I gotta give you a different price. Fuck you, it's hot. I just bought I pre-ordered with you 10 freaking comics of this crappy comic just to get that one ratio.
Yeah,
I don't give a crap how hot it is. You're gonna give it to me, and you're gonna freaking bag and board it to you. And unless you want to get stuck with all 10 of these freaking copies, and
yeah,
then
very true.
because I'm not gonna pay for them. How does that sound as a good deal? And all of a
No.
sudden, magically, the ratio showed up. How does that work out?
It's because a lot of the LCSs were doing it where they were taking that stuff, and I caught a couple of the LCSs of mine, and I caught them. They would put them up on eBay, and they would have because I knew. Listen, I knew a lot of people in the comic book world, and I knew the people that they would send it to, that they would do their eBay for them, and they wouldn't have to do it. And next thing you know, if a book came out and everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's selling for 200," and you were the one that, for example, I've done it before, where I would go to my LCS and I say, "Hey, listen, I want that 1 in 25, so I'll buy 25 copies of your freaking, of your book." And I knew it was going to be a hot book. And next thing you know, like you said, they'd be like, "Oh, sorry, we don't have it." What do you mean you don't have it? That was a bunch of BS. And then what I would used to do was I knew who their connects were, and I'd be like, "Yo," and I knew, and I would run on their on their eBay site, and I would see exactly same book that I just freaking had asked for is up there on their eBay. And I was like, that to me used to kill me and bother the living hell out of me, man.
It's funny when they say, "Well, you know what? They didn't. They want to blame it on the publisher. Well, they didn't send it to us. Oh, really? They didn't send it to you? So they sent it to every other comic shop out there, and everybody that hasn't posted on eBay, but you didn't get your copy of that. So when will I get my copy that you're saying that didn't come in? When?
And
When it
that,
closes,
dude, that
when it
used to
closes
that
off and
used to
nobody wants to
bother
buy
me.
it anymore? That's when I'm going to get it from you? No, that doesn't work. They always say, "Well, I'll order it again." No, no, no. You're not going to order it again. I'm not going to wait another month for you. The only reason I ordered that because I know it's going to be hot, and I knew I could probably flip it to make my money back on my weeks of a week
But
of purchases. That's the only reason I'm ordering in the first place.
but here's the other thing though too is like I always used to hate too the LCSs, especially after I got affiliated with an LCS. The LCSs that always used to tell you that, "Oh, well, we didn't get one," and next thing you know, they're like, "But we can order it."
Hmm.
And I'm there like, "Hold on, this is not an open order comic. How are you gonna reorder this incentive? How are you gonna reorder this book?" That's them lying and saying like,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
so by the time that the time comes, you probably already forgot about the damn book. And now they don't even, as soon as you don't question them anymore about it, they could care less. They'll be like, "Oh, they forgot about it, so I'm not even gonna bother." And yeah, we weren't gonna get it regardless. So that whole excuse of, "Yeah, where we can order it," I never believed that crap, man,
Yeah,
ever.
there's a lot of shady stuff that a lot of the comic stuff, and a lot of it is done. Some of the comic owners, they're doing it because they're douchebags.
Oh yeah,
Some of them are doing it because they're really poor business people. Really,
exactly.
really poor business. You know that I've gone to a comic shop where I've gone in and brought in a book
Hmm.
where like I'm like, listen, I don't need this. It's an extra copy. I'd like to either like do for a store credit or trade
Yeah,
with you, whatever the case is. Like you got a nice copy of this. Like I asked them what are they willing to give it, and I'll look at something that they have on the wall or something like it. Would you be willing to trade it for this for this?
yeah.
Since you're offering me this much in cash, why wouldn't you want to trade it? Uh, I've had a guy turn around and tell me, no, 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 I'm not going to trade it to you because you're probably gonna uh benefit from it. I'm like, what? Like, so basically, for us to have a trade, you have to fuck me first, and then like you have to feel like you're the guy that's the fucker. Like we can't be evenly we can't evenly walk away and say, I could have got a little bit more, I could have got a little bit less. We're all happy, you know. We can't do
Yeah.
that. Like it's a weird mentality. Like they have to feel like they screwed you in order to say that they got a great deal. I saw somebody literally come in with long boxes in the comic
Yeah.
shop. They literally thumbed through one box, and there was
Uh-huh.
some good stuff in there.
Really.
There was some good stuff in there. The freaking guy turns around and says to him, "Listen, there's a lot of stuff. I don't have time to go through all this stuff like that." I saw with my eyes some silver ASM, some silver how you call it Fantastic Four, some good stuff in there. The guy freaking offered him $50 a box $50 a long box. And he said, I'm doing you a favor because I don't got time to sit there and thumb through everything. And the freaking poor guy actually took the deal for like 6 long boxes. He took $300. You know, that's kind of screwed up.
Yeah, it is, because like when I used to crunch the numbers for myself and things like that, and I used to have to buy for the store, I always used to give people like the max that I can give. Noticing like, hey, yeah, you do have these certain books, you have this, but I always have to look at it on the essence of, okay, if I gotta post this on eBay, I gotta pay damn 18%. I gotta, if I do this on this format, then I also gotta remember that I gotta pay for taxes on this and so on and so forth. Now, next thing you know, I used to just calculate all in, and then I used to just give them my max offer, and I say, hey, I can offer you this a amount of money for this, but you also got to know I need to make money off of this, because if I can't make money off of this and you want $1 million for what the hell you have, I'm not going to make money. So I used to just talk with people, and I used to tell them, hey, yes, this book right here is a great book. I'm looking at the condition of it. This is in this condition, so on and so forth. And I used to explain it to them. And then there were times where you used to have to put people down too, because they would come and they'd bring you a whole shit ton of image books from the 90s. And you're there like, yeah, I wouldn't even be able to give you $5 for this whole long box, because this whole thing is like worthless. So it was vice versa. But yes, you also got to remember, like, on the end, but yeah, man, like $50. Fuck.
Yeah, I mean, and I personally, I was sitting right by the guy. I saw what was in there. There was stuff in there. I mean, even if everything was the lowest possible grade with covers off, some of the stuff that was in there would have value, and like it at least respect. It needed the respect of actually thumbing through it a little bit, and saying, okay, listen, it's a business. It needs to make profit. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that more than anybody you possibly could get. You need to be able to make money. But at the same time, it is a very, very poor message to your customers and people that possibly might come back to you to sell you more stuff down the line.
Yeah.
If you just basically shaft them like real hard, and they're like, they're almost looking at one and dones with a lot of people. Like they really are. Like
That's literally what it is. They also have good poker faces, because they'll never show their enthusiasm of like, holy shit. Like, how people's eyes get big. Like, I'm sure if you ever gotten digging somewhere and next thing you know, your eyes get huge because you're like, holy shit, I just found this book in here for $1. That's how comic book owners are, man. Like LCS owners, because they want to make the max profit, and I'm looking at it from the viewpoint differently, where I'm like, hey, if I know that if I were to sell this raw, I can bring in this amount of money. I know that if I sell this graded, I can get even more money. So what is it that I want to do? And those were the only times, like, to be honest with you, that I ever sent anything to get graded was when I had the LCS. Other than that, I could care less again about the whole grading thing. But that's what it was. It was to maximize profits and to just go ahead and say, hey, you know what? I can make $200 more if this book comes back anything over the 9s. And that's how my thought process was. It was like, and that's the thing that I never understood about LCS. Is you have some LCSs
get burned doing that as well if it doesn't come back the grade that you want it to.
Exactly. And then and not even just that, I always would undergrade things because I would rather be in that point where I know that if somebody were to freaking, if I were to have to sell this, I know now that, hey, I undergraded this. This is what I would put this up for sale. So I got to think about how much profit I'm going to be making off of it. And then there was just people that would sometimes, in all honesty, they would come into the LCS and they would actually give you a number. And they were like, they would come to me and they'd be like, well, I know what I have in this box. Would you tell, would you want this box for $500? And I've had people come in and you've had literally maybe, and I'm like, that's what you're looking for. I start looking through the boxes, and then you have maybe a good $4,000 worth of stuff in there, right? Mm-hmm. And they're saying $500. I'm there like, okay, if that's what you want, I'm gonna give that to you.
That's a little different, though.
Yeah, you came determining, but no, you're right. When you go in there and people just come in and just nilly willy just say, hey, can you look through this? What do I have? And next thing they're like, freaking just they don't know, and you have a shop owner doing shit like that. Yeah, that's pretty fucking shitty. Like,
It's not, as another customer looking at that, would you ever want to bring your stuff to that person to either
no, never,
sell or trade, or like,
never.
all right, fuck me, but don't fuck me that hard. Come on. I mean,
No, exactly.
you know, like,
At least buy you dinner.
you know, give me some Vaseline with that. Come on. I mean, that's they get them real hard that way.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It just leaves a poor, bad sense of your mind. There's a lot of different. I've gone on and on about that stuff, and I you know, you ever want to have a poor experience with LCS show on there, you want to have me on, I'll jump on. I'll tell you stories, endless stories.
No,
But
I can imagine. But then real quick, that's also the demise of the LCS. See, because here's the thing people don't ever realize. Okay, you're a customer, right, of your LCS. You go to me, for example, and we both go to the LCS, and you're like, bro, you would not believe what the fuck I just saw them do at this store. They just fucking did this. Me and you are never going to want to go and fucking sell your shit there. Then what's going to happen? I'm going to go talk to somebody else that I know that goes to the LCS, and I'll tell them, yo, don't ever sell your shit there. Those fucking motherfuckers gave this guy $50 and he had nothing but Silver Age fucking ASM books inside that box. He's going to go, the next person, and go and say, hey, Laura, you go to the LCS. Yo, that word of mouth just keeps passing around to everybody that goes to your store. And everybody's going to be like, oh, what a damn scumbag. I would never do business with them and sell them anything or buy anything from them, because that's how people are. People have, you know, somebody gets left with a bad taste in their mouth, you're never going to go back to that restaurant and eat again. That's how I am personally. And I know a lot of people back at home that are like that.
Listen, it's a bad. Listen, I'm not going to say that there's not some people that go into these shops and they try to fuck the owners too, because you have that too.
Of course, yeah. I had that happen. I've had, you know, the other thing. This is the reason why you have to educate yourself, especially if you're going to own an LCS. I had to become really, really freaking well versed in, you know, in like anything TCG, you know, trading card games. You know, like I knew my Pokemon stuff. You know, the things that I really didn't know too much that I had to study was Magic.
Oh my God,
I wasn't too well versed in it, and of course I had to. And now I know my shit about Magic cards. And I remember one guy, he came in there and bought me some fucking fake Magic cards. And thank God, dude. Thank God 2 weeks prior to that, I decided to start looking up how you can tell the difference between a real and a fake card. And this asshole came over fucking trying to sell me fake fucking cards.
Holy shit,
trying to make money.
Counterfeited.
Oh, dude, it is fucking crazy. Crazy.
You ever see some of these counterfeit comics? How good they get?
Oh, dude, that's another one. By the way, for anybody that does not think, I had somebody come over and I knew something was sketchy about this guy. I'm not gonna say his name. He told me his name, and he was sketchy as fuck. And right off the bat, I was like, oh man, I was like, fuck. He was just giving me bad vibes all throughout. I was like, either this shit was stolen, or either something's wrong with this. And fucking sure as hell, what did I do? I fucking took out the comic books out of the bag, because in the bag, these comic books look legit. Took them out of the fucking thing, and immediately, just from feeling the paper quality on the covers, I knew these fucking things were fake, and they were reproductions. And I started looking, even the interior was, and I'm like, I just, you know, I didn't show any facial expression showing like, man, what the fuck, you piece of shit? Nothing like that. I was just looking through everything, and he started asking me, he's like, why are you taking them out of the bags? You know, you could damage them. And I was like, no, I like to check things that I buy. I can't just buy something from you. I need to make sure I check the backs of these books. You could have a whole back cover missing on this. That dramatically changes the value of a book. So I was taking out everything. And sure as hell, dude, everything was fucking printed out, probably by the fucking dude, and just made. But in the bag, that shit looked legitimately like a normal fucking comic book. And you wouldn't be able to tell if you would never to take it out. And yeah, I told him, I was like, hey, sorry. I was like, no thanks, but I cannot buy these. I was like, I have plenty of inventory on these. I appreciate it. And that's, I didn't even tell him.
Yeah, Biggie's asking if you beat his ass. Did you beat his ass?
Nah. because I go to jail and then I'd be fucking getting my business would be sued.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, those are things you gotta. Yeah, those are the things you gotta remember when you have a business.
Violence is not always the solution,
Yeah,
especially if you own a shop.
Nah.
If you got
If you
nothing
have
to
business, period.
if you got nothing to worry about in your life and nothing to lose in your life, that's a different story. But if you got something to lose, it's
it's major.
I've seen a lot of 181s faked.
Yeah, 181s were faked. 180s were faked. ASM number ones were faked. What other damn book?
There's one guy on
eBay. X-Men number one. I've seen fakes of that.
Yeah, have you seen that one guy on eBay that just makes replicas?
Oh yeah, he does. He makes facsimiles, but now he labels them as facsimiles on his site.
But not on the comic itself.
No, not on the comic book, and that's where the problem comes. Because if I were to go on there and I was a scumbag, I would go and buy a shit ton of the stuff that guy is selling, and then I would take it and put it back up on eBay and sell it all, and then disappear and make myself a shit ton of money.
I actually want to buy one copy from him. Bite the bullet. I think he's selling for like $100.
It depends. It depends. Sometimes he has them up for bidding. And what I wanted to do was to try to catch one like at $35 because that's normally the starting point where because I wanted to do it myself too, just to sort of show people like, hey, you want to see the difference between this book and the book and the real book. And that I've thought about doing that. I just never can catch it for some odd reason. I feel like by the time it's on that 35 mark, somebody comes in, they're thinking it's real, and then they just go right and bid because people have FOMO bidding where they go ahead and they bid on something without no hesitation, without even looking at what they have. But there's a lot of books, man, believe it or not, that I've seen getting faked, and it's pretty freaking shitty how how they like to do things in reference to that. And again, if you don't have any better knowledge about comic books, you could be that guy that maybe that somebody buys it from that guy sells it to you, you don't have too much knowledge on it, and then you go ahead and resell it and you keep passing it. You guys are literally just selling a fake book and it's making its rounds. And I literally want to see how great of a quality, because apparently that guy that sells those books has a printing company. So I'm sure that he can make that shit look as legitimate as possible and as close as to the original comic book. That's
why I want to get my hands on one of them.
Yeah, I agree with you, bro.
I think I might bite the bullet and actually pay $100 that he's charging like a regular price on them.
Yeah,
just to show it and pick it up in comparison and that kind of thing. And then I want to send it to CGC. I want to see. I want to see what they're going to do. And I might even fuck with them a little bit. I might wrinkle it a little bit. I might do a little bit of that kind of action just to see how well they pick up on it or not. But I have to see how good it is. If it passes my test, it's for like, holy shit, this looks legitimate.
Yeah.
I'm going to send it purposely. I'm going to document the whole thing, but I'm not going to do it prior to sending it in. I'm going to document the whole thing. I'm going to videotape the whole thing and send it in and see how it comes back.
Oh, yeah. I would like to do that too, because you'd be surprised. It makes me also wonder whether you send it to CGC or CBCS, does it make it through? Does it make it through to them? Where you can go ahead and next thing you know, it passes through, you get it graded, and now you're like, holy shit. I have a book here that's freaking, it's not the real deal, but they passed it as being the fucking real deal. Because I know the one book that I remember that I was trying to pick up and I didn't get a chance to bid on was the Wolverine #1, that J. Scott Campbell. The one that's super expensive, that's being, that's selling for like over $10,000, where you see Wolverine with the Deadpool outfit on.
Yep.
That book right there, that dude did a facsimile of that. I'm actually looking it up right now to see.
And that's probably easy to do if you got the right printing equipment.
And that's dude. And that's what I'm saying. Like it's pretty crazy the shit that this guy has done. because I was trying to remember the fucking guy's name on this as a seller. I had him. I thought I had saved him, but I didn't.
All you got to
But
do is look up replica, and
yeah,
I'll pop it up for you.
yeah. That's what I'm looking it up as. I'm looking it up as a replica, and but I'm definitely I'm on board with you on that. I would love to see. I would love to see exactly what like how much he starts his things off at again. Is he changing prices? Is he sort of like manipulating the market? Who the fuck knows? But I
Who the
know
hell is
for damn sure.
Gobbledygook?
What is it?
Gobbledygook. Who the hell is that?
Oh no, that's part of the Ninja Turtles world. Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. Gobbledygook. You don't remember that?
Oh, I thought he
Gobbledygook
meant.
was with the
Yeah, I thought
robot.
he was talking about a seller that's actually selling these replica books. He threw me
Yeah,
off.
no. Yeah, Gobbledygook is that comic book.
Yeah,
And that's I had one. I sold one that was signed by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can actually find something, but I don't ever
Jake
see.
Harvitz, aka Jay Blitz. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the guy's name is, to be honest with you.
No. That's not him. I know exactly who Jay Blitz. That dude was. He was another one that was fucking.
Now, I'll give this guy credit on eBay. He's not. Listen, he's not. He could get sued to oblivion for
Yeah.
printing out like stuff that's not that doesn't belong to him.
Yeah.
But I'll give him at least credit that he's writing it all over the place. That it's a replica. It is what it is.
Yeah, because he's not the only one. Like I'm looking at somebody else that does as doing the replicas as well. And this person, I mean, he's starting everything off at 77, 87. But it's not that guy. But they got the fucking, I mean, they got the Tomb of Dracula #1 on here. Freaking
There's one guy that's
replica.
really good. Like really good. I gotta get.
And I mean, these shits look like, yeah. Here you go. Look, they got an X-Men #3, X-Men #1. That's what I was telling you. That's what this one guy bought to me was a fucking fake X-Men #1. And asking me for a shit ton of fucking money, and I was like, man, this shit looks way too good to be true. But yeah, this dude right here has Amazing Spider-Man '97. They made it a newsstand also. Made a newsstand copy. Here, I don't know if you know, because I can share
sure.
what I'm looking at right now. Already. Yeah, I can share it real quick. But yeah, look, this dude has he's got a Journey into Mystery '89. He's got that book. That's the one that I was just looking at. And if you go into his store, he's got a shit ton of stuff. Look at all the stuff he has. He got an '89, '84. He has some 300 Journey into Mystery '85.
And somebody that is a little bit like shady, and a little bit smart, and a little bit douchey could actually pick up a lot of these books that are not the major keys. Like if they don't get greedy and don't go after the 83s and go after the 89s or 80, they go after like ones that are more minor than anything else. They could probably get away with actually like screwing over a lot of people. Guaranteed.
Yeah, he's got oh hell yeah, they could, man. The thing with this is, like everything on here looks way too nice. So like these would be books I would never dare to send to like CGC, because these books you'd be able to tell apart like nothing. Yeah, like you see, look at Sensation Comics #1, X-Men #3, Iron Fist, first Iron Fist at Marvel Premiere 15. Yeah, he literally has a shit ton of these replicas. What I'm trying to find is the other guy.
Well, that's why I said I would probably screw it up a little bit before I send it in. Like,
but even on those, man, those would be really tough to be honestly to be able to do it with, especially with books like this. What I would go after is more of the modern stuff what that other guy does with those really hard to find books, those modern hard to find books. That's what I would try to do it with. Because if you go ahead and pass one of those off and it goes through CGC and it gets graded, blue label and all, damn man, that's very telling of how well these counterfeits could could eventually become. But it's man, it's pretty fucking shitty. Like for me, just for the hell of it,
Yeah.
just because I know I wouldn't be able to afford a Fantastic Four #5, I'd probably buy this and just fucking hang it up on my wall and be like, here you go, and, cool little replica. But
I thought about that too as spot fillers in my collection.
yeah, exactly. And and it'd be cool too, like if he actually reprinted the whole damn story on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
It's so that would also be cool. I would definitely like to see, but what I'm looking for is the guy when selling the actual more modern books and especially books that are you see, look, people are even just selling the cover reproduction for Hulk 181, 25
Oh, they
bucks.
do that a lot with the covers. Actually, I have a few coverless books that I'm considering just getting the cover just to put it on the outside of it.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking at the new the newsprint on the inside.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing to do, but by the way, I'm gonna make a point of saying this to everybody that's listening now and in the future to this video. We're not telling anybody to go out and do douchey things and actually go out and buy these books and sell them and screw the whole world over. We're just saying that these things do exist. You got to be aware of them and be careful that you're not going to pay through the nose. And if it's too good to be true, usually it is too good to be true. So you got to be super, super careful about how you go about doing it. And that's it. Don't be a douchebag and go buy these and resell them to other people that are unfortunate souls that believe you.
Yeah.
Be nice.
This guy right here, a fucking newsprint interior Silver Age comic reproduction. $130. What is this guy selling? Is he just doing? Yeah, he's just pretty much just making fucking covers, man. Yeah, this is this person's.
See, they even got Captain America.
Yeah, you see, look, he's calling it a replacement for your interior.
A replacement for your interior?
Yeah, that's what they wrote on that one thing right there. Said a replacement for your interior.
That's quite a replacement.
That's a hell of a way to that's a way to fucking.
No, I see the replica covers all the time for like $20-$30. They put them up there, and like if you got a coverless book that you just want to have displayed,
yeah, exactly.
That's not a bad thing. I've even seen people send them into CGC with the replica cover detached, asking them to actually encase it with the thing. It's a 0.5, but at least it has the cover.
It has the cover on it. Yeah, exactly.
That's all right. If that's the way you want to collect, I have no qualms with that. But it's a really your guy Hood. He actually has a good eye for that stuff.
Yeah, no, he definitely does. He's
Red Hood has a really good eye for that stuff.
He's been he grew up in a comic shop, and not even just that, he's been doing everything for the past, freaking pressing and cleaning and everything for the past 12 years now.
So is he going to remain a staple on your show?
Because yeah. He always, everybody has a life, man. Whenever they could join, they join. If they can't, I never hold anybody against their will of freaking having to join me every single time I go live or anything like that. But he's always there whenever he can. If he doesn't have like an early day at work or anything like that, he always comes and joins.
One of my favorite things to do is when he's on and you have a guest that might get a little bit boring or a little bit weird or something like that, he'll just start randomly showing his crap. Which is freaking awesome.
That's what the hell he was doing the day that freaking these two guys were going back and forth with each other.
Anything he can get his hands on, he's just gonna start showing off.
Yeah, exactly.
And you got to do a soundbite of him yelling "Mama."
He does all that stuff. He does it for himself on his and I know he's getting ready to start his podcast as well
I'm actually
on
looking
his own
forward to it.
channel. Yeah, I am too.
It should be definitely an interesting thing. So I want to actually open up the panel to ask any question, anybody that that's in the chat to ask any questions to you.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I know that we've answered just about everything that's in there, but I want to make sure that if there's anything specifically they want to go approach it, I think we did a good deep dive. I mean, we could talk endlessly about a lot of
Oh, of
stuff,
course, yeah. No,
but
definitely.
we won't be able to make gazillions of dollars in YouTube money if we shoot our load all in one video. So
In
you know,
one sitting, exactly.
Any question?
Don't answer no questions, and I won't tell you no lies.
Hey Lord, don't ask me questions. Hey Lord, don't ask me questions, please. What do you want? What do you want from us? To ask you this much is just a matter of trust, not an affront. What do you want?
see, only the highest production value is coming out of this channel. You know, So let me start with this. What did you think of your my mystery box? Who are you talking to? Are you talking to me?
I know it wasn't me. I never bought a mystery box from a promiscuous time traveler.
Did I order a mystery box from him? I don't
Maybe.
know. I if I did, I forgot all about. I didn't receive any mystery box. You better not send me any anthrax. I'm telling you that this much. I don't like anthrax sent to me. That's why I have a PO box. I don't want it coming directly. We go with gloves and with the robots to open it up before we even take it home. So we're going to be very, very careful. You know, who the hell's Grant Parker? I don't know. Sometimes when we get to a certain point in the night, the creatures of the night come out, and we get a lot of stuff coming out of nowhere. But Kyle, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about with the mystery box. If you could clear that up for us, I would appreciate it very much, because now you got me confused.
Yeah, I'm confused as well.
Yeah, is it towards me that you're talking about? Is it maybe somebody sent you a box? You know, I would be more worried about you getting boxes from people than me. You know, me the people get angry with you. They just hate me. There's a difference. It's different to be hateful to somebody and to be angry with somebody. You get people really angry. By the way, I like the fro look. Going back to your going back to your older videos. The fro look definitely definitely works.
I'm gonna cut my hair at some point or another, though.
Nah, don't cut it, man. This is starting to turn into your identity, man. Don't. I did a mystery box where I doubled everyone's money plus. You made a mystery box. All right,
fill out a survey so that I can curate for him.
All right, that's what I was confused. I'll tell you what, Kyle. Hit me up on the IG. Tell me about your mystery box. I'll open it up on a live stream. If it's good, I'll tell everybody it's good. If it sucks, you're in trouble. Because I will tell everybody it sucks. You know, yeah. I like to call people out on mystery boxes. I open up a lot of them whenever I can. Yeah. Just to say, hey, this was worth it. This sucks. And I'll tell you something, more suck than are actually good. So have you ever played that mystery box game?
I did it at one point, and then I got burned on a couple of them.
Everybody gets burned, especially
not even that. Like I got fucking burned. Like where I was promised Silver Age books, and next thing you know, when I received my box, it was nothing full of 90s image stuff. That's what I mean by that.
That sucks.
Yeah, that fucking that one pissed me off, and that was from Jay Blitz. From what they're talking about, somebody was mentioning Jay Blitz earlier, but that was from that dude.
So Image is did we recategorize Image and 90s books into Silver Age now? Is that
Dude,
was that
I
his
guess.
logic?
I guess, yeah. That one was, man. I was fucking fuming. I was fuming over that, and it was just like I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. And I spent $375.
Holy shit! You actually bought you paid $375 for a bunch of
$375.
Image books?
Yeah,
You know what? I put you in the same category as Lynx. You know DJ Lynx.
yeah.
He bought a box for $777. He actually has a video up on that. If you see that shit box he got for $777, you would freaking lose your mind.
Really?
Lose your mind. Yeah, and he was like, you could tell like freaking fire was coming out of his freaking ears, out of his nose, out of his eyes, out of everything. But he was like being like so like,
He was being cordial.
I don't like this box kind of a thing, and like
Yeah.
he's trying to like subdue it. I guarantee you would not be able to subdue it. You would. I told him if it was me opening that box, holy shit, you're gonna hear it. That story would have stayed with me forever. $375 for freaking Image books. Was there at least like some kind of like lost variant of Spawn #1 in there? Something?
Any question?
Don't answer.
Damn you! Why do you come up there? All right. Was there at least like a Malibu Sun?
Fuck no.
9.8 in there or something?
No, I fucking wish. There was absolutely nothing. There wasn't even a single. There wasn't even a fucking single newsstand in that fucking box.
Was it all Brigade? Is that what you got?
It was all the fucking 90s garbage, man. You're talking about Wildcats. You're talking about fucking not even Spawn.
Wait, did he
was
silver because of the
Max.
chrome? Did he send you a bunch of chrome covers? Is that what he meant?
Nah.
Like silver?
He was doing something with some guy named Ray. That guy was this older gentleman that supposedly had one hell of a damn freaking collection, and that he was trying to get rid of it because he was older. He was in his 80s, and you know the man's like, hey, I can't take this to my grave, and fucking they just lied, and I ended up just getting straight just pure shit in that box. I was fucking livid, man. Livid.
That's crazy. Did you actually stream that?
Did I? No, so what I was doing, I was taking the cordial route. I was like, bro, this is what the hell I got in my box. And then all of a sudden he was like scrambling and was like, oh, you know, I'll try to get some books for you. I'll try to do this. I'll try to do that. Fucking months and months on end kept going. Never fucking came back to me about it. Never fucking questioned me about that shit. It was a fucking giant hot mess. And yeah, I was like, dude, you better be glad that you're not living where I live at, because I'd fucking find you and I literally would put my hands on you at that point. Because for anybody, man, that's a lot of fucking money.
$375 for a shit box. That
Yeah.
You know, listen, you wouldn't want to get a box of Image for $50. Forget about $375.
Exactly. I know you're talking about a long box. This was just a box, like, you know, a medium priority box. And they were calling them mystery boxes, and I was bidding up against somebody, and finally I ended up winning at $375. And sure as hell, I was like, you know what? I'll take the chance. You know, if it's Silver Age, even if I don't get, I probably might get the equivalent. I might get more. It was bad. But that dude, Jay Blitz, I mean, he ended up everything started catching up to him.
He blitzed you on that one.
He got knocked off of YouTube. He fucking, people were looking for him. I mean, listen, if you think $375 is bad, there was one guy that got taken for like $7,000 or something like that by this dude for like a Hulk 181 or some shit like that.
Look at that. There's a whole bunch of people that apparently paid.
Oh yeah,
got their stuff.
He did that. He did that to Uncle Roman. Uncle Roman fucking bought a shit ton of like high-end books from him. He never sent it to Uncle Roman. Uncle Roman was another one that spent a shit ton of money with that kid, and yeah, that was such a bad fucking, oh my god. I wanted to kick his ass for Uncle Roman because he pissed me off with doing Uncle Roman like that.
That
Let alone
actually
me.
happened to me on a couple of occasions with a few people, not on a high level. I
Yeah.
called them out. I ended up getting the money back because they were afraid that I was going to really freaking go ballistic as far as like I have no problem blowing people's spots up. Like I will be relentless, and it doesn't matter if it's like I'm a vindictive person. I will for 3 years later I will keep saying it every day of how horrible of experience I had with them. So when it happened with me, they realized they need to give me my money back. So because
Yeah.
otherwise I'm not going to shut up. So it gets to one point where it's not even about the money anymore. Now it's about
Yeah.
principle. It's about you know what. Now you really pissed me off. Now you give me fuel. You give me ammunition, and that's not a cool thing to do. So yeah, I'm sorry you had to go through that experience. I wish you actually videotaped it. And because of my early bad experiences, I videotape every single unboxing I do. Even if I don't use it for like YouTube or if I don't, I videotape it just to make sure that they see exactly what I'm looking at as I'm opening up that box.
Yeah, and those are things like I said for me personally, it was it wasn't just me that got freaking bamboozled by that guy. It was a lot of people. It was
Apparently so.
yeah, no, it wasn't. There was a lot of people that came out, and I remember at one point that guy even went ahead and tried to bring himself back into the spotlight by starting to sell comic books on Facebook because he was pretty much just outcasted on YouTube. So then he went on the Facebook end of things, and then people started seeing him and calling him out on Facebook because he was owing a lot of folks a shit ton of money. I mean, if you were taking me for $7,000 something dollars, dude, I would be down there in Florida where he lives, and I'd be finding him. I wouldn't even stop.
Well, you know what? There's a topic, and I would love to see you actually tackle that blacklist of former community members that basically fucked everybody. That's a good thing to let people know about because honestly, maybe it was under my radar, maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I didn't know about this Jay Blitz guy, or maybe if
Yeah,
I did, I wasn't paying attention enough to realize what this guy was all about. But that's something that could help the community with a lot. But it seems like I think we ran our course. We've been at this for like 3 hours.
yeah. I'm just
And,
noticing
and
right
we
now.
and we could probably sit here and bullshit for another 3 hours and find plenty of stuff to talk about. But like I said, we're not going to give it to you. The whole point of having a good show is keep you asking for more. You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
So
exactly.
we're going to tease you a little bit, and maybe we'll have another. Maybe we'll have another show, and we'll talk about more things, or maybe I'll pop up on Thoro's thing out of nowhere. You
Yeah,
never know. You
no,
never know
exactly.
how things go. Or maybe we won't do it ever, and we'll make you wait for 5 years for the reunion. I don't know. I
Nah,
don't
it'll
know how
it,
it's
it'll
gonna go.
ha- it'll happen at some point or another. It'll
We're
happen.
gonna see how it's gonna go, but I definitely appreciate you very, very much for hopping on with
Likewise,
me.
man.
I think it was great. I think we didn't get too savage. I think it was fairly civil.
We got there. We got to some points, that like I said, a lot. Sometimes people don't want to ask some questions. I know in the beginning you were telling me before we came on there, you were like, "Hey, do you mind if I ask?" I was like, "Dude, go at it. Ask me whatever. I don't.
Well,
I have no filter."
I'm gonna let you know this little secret.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you a secret. If you told me something, I'll be transparent with everybody. I always ask
yeah.
everybody, is there anything off limits? I always
Mhm.
ask that to everybody. And if they turn around and tell me yes, there is, they don't talk about. That's the first thing I ask them.
Yeah,
So the fact that he said there's nothing off limits made it a lot more comfortable of a situation because I don't feel like I have to be muzzled, and we could have a
yeah,
nice, comfortable situation because now you're going to give me reason to ask you something specifically in prod because now you said
yeah.
that you don't want me to talk about it. So now of course I have to talk about it because that's me. So that's kind of how it works. So
Yeah.
I'm happy that you said, hey, no problem, whatever the case is.
Yeah, I have, dude. I'm honestly, I'll be like that with everybody and anybody. The biggest thing is like, I would ask the person that's hosting, Me, I'd be like, "Are you sure you want to ask me anything and everything?" Because you sometimes might not like the answers I might end up giving. You'd be like, "Oh shit,
Listen, the
I
only
didn't like
time
that."
I won't touch something if it's like totally personal. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? If it's something personal, you tell me, listen, I like this is something that could affect me in my life or something like
yeah,
that. Like
yeah.
I don't want to talk about it. I'm not gonna listen. This is a comic book freaking community thing. As as,
Exactly.
as hostile as it could get sometimes, at the end of the day, which is a freaking comic book community. We don't want to hurt anybody. At least I don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And I know that you're the same way. You're not specifically going out there to like do damage to people. You know what I'm
no,
saying? Unless they're on whatnot, and unless they play music on the whatnot show. That's when that's when you're like fuck
nah.
that
You know what I did. You know what I did, CJ, was the fact that now that you can't play music, now I can go ahead and tell apart who really are the real ones that can make sales. That's what I did. Who are
guy.
the real ones that can actually make sales on fucking whatnot?
Yeah, that's the thing. You took away my biggest tool. I would play music and get them all dizzy and everything until like they're like, I just stop playing the music. I'll buy your damn comics. No, I'm gonna keep playing.
You might as well just start singing, man, and trying to swoon over your crowd that comes to watch you and whatnot,
Oh
and,
my
and
god,
give them some tunes like that.
you ruined me, man. You ruined me, you diabolical freaking guy. You ruined my
Man.
enterprise. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. You know, hey, where's Tim?
Exactly.
He hopped on a couple times while I was doing a show. He's like, "What the hell's going on over here?" I'm like, "Don't worry about what the hell's going on over here. This is my world right now."
It's like a freaking funeral now, man.
So it is what it is.
So somber.
But I appreciate everybody that's been hanging out with us. There's been a consistent flow of people coming in and out throughout the beginning. It's really good because I know that Thursday nights there's a lot of other shows going on at the same time. Everybody that's going to catch us on the replay, I appreciate that as well. We do have a scheduled show with Swaggle House Comics. You familiar with Swaggle House, Thoro?
Yes.
I'm going to be I was supposed to be interviewing him next week, but the guy's a freaking diva and he changed his schedule on me. So we're not doing it next week. We're going to do it the following week on the 16th. So you could put your little ding notification. I already have it in the schedule thing. So you're going to put the little ding the notification thing. You're going to get to see me grill Swaggle House on this channel next. And we do have some upcoming surprises as well with other people that you may or may not believe will come on here, but they will. I promise you they will, and it will be fun. It might get actually savage, even though Thoro is not here. But
I'll be checking it out, and I'll be checking it out.
It might get a little savage, and your friend Journey might not have a channel after it's done. But we'll see what happens. We'll have a channel. But until the next time, you guys keep collecting. I'll keep recollecting. Thoro will continue to be savage. And
that's right.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Peace.
Appreciate you all.